Lick yourself at the beginning of the stream. Gibson, leave it. I think we're live. I think we started live by me trying to convince Gibson. Let's see. Hold on. Do we have volume? Checking. Maybe. I don't know. 1 second. I hear no. Oh, wait. No. I hear nothing because I always turn the audio off. There we go. Okay. We are good. I am not recording tonight, so we don't have to worry about that. And I think we're good. Happy New Year's to everybody. I have nothing like fancy to say beyond that. So yeah, I probably should plan something like a speech. No, that would be terrible. Okay, so tonight you're probably going to hear Gibson moving around. He's joining me for the first time for a live stream. He gets bored and walks around and whines, so that's pretty much guaranteed to happen. And volume, you said, is volume okay? I heard it. I know it's there. Okay, so, oops, I'm gonna hit all the things. So I'm working in acrylics on this one. This is a Frederick's watercolor canvas board. Just for transparency, I am sponsored by Frederick's. They did provide me with this canvas, but I already only use them, so there's that. You guys are used to that whole speech. But this was started, actually my goal was to finish this, and one of the things that I want to try to change a little bit for this year, I usually try to get one new project done every week, but sometimes, and especially lately, I've really been finding myself rushing through things way more than I would like to. So I was going to get this done 2 nights, it'll be done. Yeah, not if I wanted to do the quality I wanted. And so I kind of want to up the quality because I look at a lot of the stuff that I've completed, especially recently after the move, everything's just so rushed. And I want to spend a little bit of extra time. And rush doesn't always mean that things don't look good. It just, I would like to put a little bit more time, a little bit more detail into things. So that is the plan. So this one was supposed to be 1 week. This is going to turn into 2 weeks. And I think that that's going to happen a lot more often now, especially with colored pencil pieces. I'd really like to up the quality that I'm producing. It's not that, I mean, even when the stuff was kind of rushed, it's not that I can't put more detail. It's just I kept running out of time. So it's like, okay, let's just focus on values and color values and composition and that sort of thing. But I want to now start including a bit more detail. So the videos, I'll still have a new video on Patreon every single week, but it'll, in many times like this one, be broken into part 1 and part 2, which the good thing for those of you who are trying to follow along on some of these, you're going to get more real time. So, it really will allow me to slow some of this down. So I think that will be good for you guys. Gabby says, thanks for using acrylics. One of my next ones, I actually need to do an oil painting. I've had requests from some people. I have not done oils in forever. But yeah, this one is acrylics. This one I airbrushed the background. And if you have never airbrushed before and you're thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds too hard, it's actually not. This type of background is one of the easiest things you can do with an airbrush. So you can, day 1 of using an airbrush, get something that looks pretty much like this. The hard thing with the airbrush is getting the fine details. Soft out of focus things, that is a breeze with an airbrush. So that is how I did that. And then brushwork was for everything else. And now what I'm really going to focus on tonight, I want to start getting the detailing around the nose and the mouth. Now I've started to get some of the details around the little sections in here, but I need to break them up more. They're too big. I want to make them a bit smaller so that they're a bit closer to the reference photo. Now, I don't feel that you have to copy your reference photo exactly, but I think I can improve on this. So let's go ahead. I'm going to actually zoom in a bit so you can see the nose better. Let's see. I wanted to start this way so you could see where it was so far. Nope, that's my face. I don't need to. There we go. That's what I need to edit. See if I can zoom him in. And we will have to, yeah, that'll probably be okay. And then we'll just move that a bit. 1 second. There we go. Okay. So you can see the sections of his nose that I've started to get the detail. I just want to clean that up, make it a lot smaller. So is the chat working? I believe so. I'm able to see it. I need to scroll up though. I'm probably behind on some questions. It's kind of far away. It's hard for me to see. YouTube changed the way their layout for live stream was. So what I'm seeing is a bit different than before. It's a bit smaller because that's helpful. Let's see. Okay. Ready to go. Okay, so the palette that I'm using here is the New Wave Glass palette. And it's inside a Mastersons. It's kind of like a big Tupperware. It's inside of that. Yes, Nick, this is the Jungle Moose. So those of you on Patreon know this. I uploaded, these were some of the reference photos I had taken. Well, the place that I took the photos had them mislabeled as lesser kudu, which makes no sense because when I looked up what a lesser kudu was, they're actually way smaller. They both have stripes. But somebody didn't change out signage, I'm guessing, where I took the photo. So I had him mislabeled on our Patreon reference photos for December there. Let's see. Okay. I like how YouTube notifies me that I'm live. Like they email me to let me know my own shit. Thanks, YouTube. That's the notification you give me, not like other channels that I actually want to watch. Okay. What do you want? Are you over here to say hi? I don't think they can see you. Put your face up. There's his snoot. You just show them your snoot. Okay. Yeah, I'm probably not going to accomplish as much as I would like to with him helping. What do you want, sweet boy? Okay, whoops, wrong end of the brush. Yeah, I'm already dipping the wrong end of the brush into the water, so we're starting out well. Let's see, four-legged desert chicken. Oh, I like that one too. That's sounds like something I would also call things. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna take some black and start separating the shape of his nose. Now these little sections don't need to be exact. I'm not worried about that. Oops, that's a little too thick. I just want to kind of make them a little smaller. And this is a a synthetic hog-haired liner brush. This is one of the Hobby Lobby generics that I get. I don't like a lot of generic art supplies, but paint brushes I'm a fan of. And especially these ones, what are they called? Master's Touch. And you can get these at Hobby Lobby, and they list them as for oils. Oh my gosh, I love these brushes. They are my favorite liner brush. I need to find an alternative of something that somebody could, you guys can order online. I just haven't yet. So see, I'm just breaking these up. Now the trick when using a liner brush, there are two things. One, you do not want to push hard with the brush. The harder you push, the thicker the line is going to be. So I'm just barely letting the tip of the bristles touch the canvas. The other thing is I'm thinning it out quite a bit with water. So I dip my brush in the water and then I just kind of twist that into the palette there to get an even coverage. So if you look here, the paint is only going up about halfway or so. I don't want the paint to build up right along the edge here or where it meets. Really? This is where you need to be right now? Right between me and the palette. Seriously. I probably should move here. Let's see if I can let you guys see what's happening right now. There is Gibson. He is between me and the palette. Not so helpful as it turns out. So this will be an interesting stream. Anyway, but I don't want the paint to go all the way up to the handle here because if it does, that's where it starts to harden. Even if you rinse your brush well, it will start to harden. And instead of your bristles being nice and tight together like this, they start to fray. So you don't want that on a liner brush. Now, when it does happen to a liner brush, I don't throw it out because there are certain techniques that will work well. It's almost like having a round rake brush, I guess. So I'm not going to throw it out when that happens, but I want to try to keep the paint as much as possible on the front half of this. And that's one of the benefits of having the really long bristles. You may be tempted when you're looking for a paintbrush. Okay, you're getting too far under the easel. Back up, Moose. Come on, back up. Oh, you're too strong. Okay, but you want these longer bristles so that you can keep the paint hopefully on the front half. If you get these teeny tiny bristles and it's, little ones, you may think, oh, that's going to give me more detail. No, you can't. One, you can't load enough paint in it, so it's not convenient. But the other thing is that the paint just builds up at the end so fast that brush is not going to last you more than a couple of uses and still be in good condition. So those are definitely things that you want to watch. Yes, this video will be, you can watch it anytime after the live stream, so no problem there. Thanks, Xerxes. Okay, now you're under actually, that's under one of the computers. You don't need to be under there, come on. Are you just bored? It's been cold, so we haven't been on walks, and he's been letting me know a lot lately. He's very bored. So now I have a greyhound head in my lap. This will be fun. And at least the paint I'm using is black, so if it gets on you, no one will know. So as I do this, I'm not pushing very hard. If I push, and actually I don't have the paint, it's starting to dry because of me talking so much there, so I've got to reload. If it starts to dry a bit much, it's not going to work for you. Thanks, Phyllis. So we'll just come through and just keep separating these a little bit more. Now this is not an area where I sit there and count on the reference photo like 15 little sections going this way and 14 the other way. Close is good enough. I just want to make sure that I'm getting a similar look. So see, just keep breaking those up. And I'm going to come back through and define the shading in there a little bit more too. IR said, wow, love this. Have you used the purple color for the base for a reason? Gibson's cleanliness is the most adorable thing. Yeah, he's Velcro dog here. I have not been allowed to go to the bathroom on my own in the last 2 weeks since he got here. Too much information, but the joys of a greyhound. Anyway, yeah, the purple, the reason, okay, 2 reasons for the purple. One, I was mainly thinking of the background. That's a really good question. I was mainly thinking of the background. You can kind of, maybe a little bit here, you can kind of see in areas where a little bit of purple is showing. I wanted that. I wanted this purple undertone under the green in the background. And initially I thought I was going to do the background just like the reference photo, which has no purple. But I thought I was going to go a little bit more realistic and then changed my mind and decided I like the kind of softer fantasy feel. Okay, what are you doing down there? Out from under the easel. No. No, he likes to steal my stuff. I think he's just looking for stuff to steal. He's a bit of a klepto. Back up. He steals my stuff and takes it to his bed. He doesn't do anything with it. He just collects all my stuff and puts it in his bed. And he's probably looking for stuff. But anyway, yeah, that is why I wanted the bits of purple just showing just hints of it under the green. And really, go lay down. Gibson, get out of there. You're going to knock all this over. So the other thing though, the purples work really well with the colors of this guy. He's got a lot of this magenta tone in here. I want that to show up in between little areas. And the reason that I don't just start with white, because that would, when I used to paint, that's what I started with, was just white on everything as my base. But the problem with that, you're now fighting the white of the canvas and it can be a little bit harder to get the shading. Here, you can see bits of purple showing through. I just made I now look like I have detail that I don't actually have. It's just the background showing through, but it's not the white of the canvas showing through. I just find it to be easier all around. It's kind of like staining the canvas a base color. A lot of people will use like a sepia tone. That would work too. The other thing that I really like coming up with any base color versus just going onto the white of the canvas, I can use a white charcoal pencil, or in this case, white tracing and transfer paper, to get my image onto the background and have it show up, which would not happen if I had a white canvas. Again, any color would have worked. You could have gone with a reddish brown and gotten a very similar end result. In this case, my main reason was there's a lot of purple just barely showing through here and there through the green, and that's the look that I wanted. Also, the autofocus. Let me see if I can fix this because that's getting annoying. I thought I had that turned off, but it's not popping up. Here we go. Focus, auto. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's see if that helps now. Okay, I think we're good. That autofocus drives, that makes it very hard to watch. Okay, let's see. Yes, I am used to tiny dogs. He's definitely, he's a horse. He's much bigger than my 10-pound Italian Greyhounds. Let's see. Wolf says, I own an old set of Derwent Color Soft. Are these good enough for me to get started in colored pencil, or should I buy another sort? My goal is realistic, detailed work. Color Soft is probably not the way to go. Color Soft I prefer for like loose sketches because color lays down very quickly. I did a review on them. You can watch that and see the results I had. Extremely frustrating. If Color Soft were the first colored pencils I had ever tried, I never would have continued with colored pencils. The way that they layer, the way that you, like, unless you're working huge, you're not getting a lot of good detail on them. I'm not a fan. Again, loose sketches, like, they have their place, but for fine detailed realistic work, I definitely do not like them. They can't do what a lot, as far as the layering and detail, that most other pencils can. And that's not against Derwent, it's just that specific pencil. Like the Derwent Pro Color, the Derwent Lightfast, those Derwent ones, you can get plenty of, you know, detail, great realism, wonderful pencils, but I'm not a fan for trying to get detail work or realism with Colorsoft at all. Fine for loose sketches, but that's about as far as I would go with those. And then of course, any other brand, Faber-Castell Polychromos, you've got Caran d'Ache Luminance, you've got a lot of options that I think are a better choice if that is what you're going for than Colorsoft. So the Colorsoft I would keep for like maybe your loose sketches, for coming up with ideas, so you're not, you know, wasting them, you can use them. I just wouldn't use them for your full projects. Whoops, let's see. I wonder if there's a way I can make this bigger. Hold on one second. There we go. Oh, too big. Maybe that will work, because I was having a really hard time. Oh, nope, not really, because it's, one second, let me see if I can. Nope, that is not going to work for me. Okay, so much for that bright idea. We'll go ahead and shrink it back down, and I will continue to strain to read. Move this. Yeah, no, that's not ideal either. I'm trying to figure out how I can more easily read these questions. I'm sorry. Let's see. How to stop the live stream so my kiddo could see a picture of Gibson on Instagram. That's awesome. I need to post a lot more photos. He's actually going to be at the end of the video that I'm uploading tomorrow. Let's see. Sarah said, I love what you did with his right eye. I'm working on a painting of a Labrador's eye, and I'd like to get a similar look in it. Yeah, and that one it is over on Patreon right now, but it's just paying attention to your reference photo. Look at, now I wouldn't paint a dog's eye quite like this. These guys' eyes kind of bug out a bit in a way that a dog's eye wouldn't. So you're not going to have, I mean, you can see it really extends far from the shadow of the eye. So be careful of that. Don't try to force something that shouldn't be there on the lab, because you may make his eye look kind of deformed, or like it's swollen, or something that needs to see a vet, which is obviously not the goal. So watch the reference photos very closely. Let's see. Phyllis said, my German Shepherd puppy whines at the bathroom door. The Great Dane couldn't care less. That's funny. Blue Tea Art said, how do you get those layers on white fur? Which part do you mean? The layers on white fur. Layers on white fur. I'm not sure I'm not reading that right, I don't think. I need more information. Yoda Factory said, is it worth getting an agent to promote your art? How can you find one? My only experience with an agent was when I was, I must have been 23, 24, 25, right around there, a long time ago. And I had a guy who wanted, hold on one second, let me tell my mom I can't talk right now. Hey, I'm actually in the middle of a live stream, so I can't talk, but I just wanted to tell you so you didn't think I was ignoring you. I'll talk. Okay, love you, bye. Okay. Anyway, where was I going with that? Okay, so the agent. I had a guy who was in Vegas. I was in Southern California at the time. A friend of mine kind of hooked me up with him. And the only thing he ever did for me is tell me he insisted he needed me to do a celebrity portrait so people could see that I had the skill to paint that. And I'm like, that was my first, I'm like, I don't paint portraits. I don't paint people portraits at the time. I'm not good at it. And so he benefited me hugely in that, because it challenged me to go ahead and do it. And it was a James Marster, so Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I painted him as Spike. And it was still one of my better portraits. I really like how that one came out. But I took the time, and I was just determined to do it. But then I never heard from him really. He was very flaky, never really did anything. I don't think you need an agent. I don't know what an agent is going to do for you. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody's got one that worked great. But I don't know. It kind of seems like me, like, okay, I have an MCN, or multi-channel network, that my YouTube channel is on. It's been there since like 2012. I'm actually going to be canceling it this year because they don't do anything for me. They just take my money without actually doing anything for me. I don't know how you find an agent who does something for you. MCNs sure don't, and it's very similar to having an agent. They're absolutely freaking useless. So, especially mine. Side note, I actually contacted mine and was like, hey, I'm not really seeing any benefit from you guys. When is my contract up? And they told me it's like May. And I'm like, okay, well, is there something that you guys are providing that I'm not aware of, or a benefit to staying with you? They never freaking responded back to that part of the question at all. And I'm like, okay, I guess there's my answer. I will be canceling. So anyway, Agents, I think you can do it on your own. I'm not sure what you think an agent is going to do for you that you can't do yourself. If a gallery is interested in your work, the agent isn't, I don't know what that's going to do. Like, I'm not sure how that would really help you. I think the idea of having agents was a big thing back, you know, the 90s, the 80s, before the internet. And now there's just so many things, the way that we do art, the way that we sell art, I should say, that isn't the same as what it used to be. And I just don't see it as being necessary. I think you can research what needs to be done in order to sell your work and in order to market your work all on your own and not have to give that money to an agent that most likely won't do, I mean, at least I don't know a single person who has an agent who is beneficial to them. We'll say that. Could they exist? Absolutely. Do I know any? Absolutely not. That was kind of my, and like I said, back in this was in the early 2000s that I was talking to that agent. And I mean, it was like 2000, 2001, right around, I mean, it was quite a while ago. And he didn't do anything for me. This guy, I guess he claimed he worked at or my friend said he worked at a gallery, and so he knew people, whatever. I don't know. Luckily, I never gave him any money, but I just don't see why we would need one at this point. I don't see what benefit there would be. I'm sorry, stuff allergies are horrible. I also might be getting sick, hopefully not, but I apologize for that. Okay, let's scroll too far again. Sarah said, in regards to the eye, I'm talking more about the shine, glassy look on the surface. Oh yeah, that definitely. In this, that part is done with transparent mixing white and then just opaque white for the brightest parts. So you've got a transparent glaze that's kind of rounded and then the white highlights. So that's actually really easy to do. Thanks, Circes. Okay. Daniel says, for the agent thing, just look for Facebook and utilities, the AI they have. You can target certain individuals for your art. There you go. I mean, you've got so many other options that I just don't, I don't think the way that the world, or, you know, with the internet, the way that everything is, I just don't see the benefit. And even now, I mean, back with my MCN that I'm on for YouTube, yeah, they provided me a service when I first started, because back in 2012, there were no channels like Tim Schmoyer with Video Creators or Daryl Eves or any of these people who give you really good tips on growing your channel and just good practices and all of that. There was none. I remember there was one guy, he had 8,000 subscribers, and at the time, I remember looking at that going, oh my gosh, 8,000 subscribers, that's insane. I can't even imagine ever getting to that point. So, I mean, but back then, it was just different. And he would give tips occasionally, and then he kind of started just recording himself at fairs and stuff, or concerts, and stopped making videos on tips. But there was no one to really teach you how to grow. I didn't understand. You're supposed to actually ask people to subscribe. Otherwise, they don't hit the subscribe button. They don't think of it. So, you know, there were just a lot of good practices, uploading on a regular basis, being on a schedule, all of that sort of thing. That back then, there were, like I said, there was no video creators. There was nobody to teach us. And now there are, and we don't need an MCN to tell us how to do things right. And then the MCNs lie, honestly. My MCN was like, yeah, we're going to get you all these collaborations. We're going to do all this. They never, not one collaboration did they set up for me. Not one. They never got me any difference in advertisement. One of my friends was with them, and when she quit, she said, God, I forget what the amount she was, like double what she used to make on ad revenue. Not just because of what they're taking, but because they were actually losing her money on ads. They weren't getting the better ads that they claimed they would get. So, and I think with agents, you get it back into the kind of that same thing. They make a lot of promises, if you can even find one, and don't necessarily deliver. I mean, if they could deliver, that would be great. If my MCN did everything that they would say, because like the one thing that my MCN provides that I use is my subscription to Epidemic Sound. Okay, I could pay $10 a month and have that, but my MCN is taking something like $300 a month. I pay them $10, $300. You see the problem? So it's there. In that case, I think it's a very good good comparison to what an agent does, where it's like, I can do this on my own. I don't need you to, just take my money for no apparent reason, which is what MCNs do now. Yeah, Ursi says agents are for museums in general. Yeah, that is what my understanding is. And most of us, that isn't really what we're trying to do. It's a different type of art that goes in a museum. So, Let's see. When is the Falcon Hawk Hunter Chicken video going to be up? Very excited. It's up on Patreon now. It's 2 hours on Patreon. I think most of it is real time, and if not all of it. And then the edited video should be within the next week or two. I need to get that up soon. Shelly said, great use of that purple. I never would have thought to do that. Do you have a video on how you got the background? Not yet. Again, on Patreon. Gosh, I sound like this is just a huge Patreon advertisement. I mean, sort of. But that part is on there, how I got to this stage. This one will probably, the full video for YouTube, it'll be a few weeks. It'll be, the second part will be on Patreon on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, right around there. But you guys on YouTube will get this within the next few weeks. And it'll show the background, but it was airbrushed with a stencil. It's actually super easy. Neil said, I got an airbrush set for Christmas for creating blurry backgrounds, and I've been watching your videos related to airbrushing today. I can't wait to try it out. Oh, you're going to have fun. Just remember, and I talk about this all the time, watch on the videos, with the trigger, when you're airbrushing, push down, pull back, push forward, then let go. Don't pull back. Everyone, when you first start, wants to just pull back, let go. Don't do that. It's push down, pull back, push forward, let go. And that's what's going to keep you from clogging your airbrush. That push forward and then let go runs air through it. And that's going to make a big difference in you not clogging that airbrush. So that's my big single tip for you to pay attention to that part. It matters. And you want to get in the habit of you doing that now. Because if you get in the habit of being lazy and just pushing down, letting go like that, you will be frustrated with clogging airbrush, and it's a hard habit to break. So that's my big tip for you and your new airbrush. Congratulations. Sarah said, what do you think of using the, this is going to scroll too far. Yep, there it goes. Square canvases and paper. Do things work on them as the same as a rectangular surface? Well, I mean, yeah, if it works with your composition. Everything comes down to the composition, and when you switch from a rectangle to a square, the composition will be different. Sometimes that will be a huge benefit, and it will look far better on a square. It just depends on the composition of what you're doing. So it's not like square is better than rectangular. It depends completely on the design and how you're cropping it. So I could do the same guy on a square, but I'm probably going to crop it a bit different. So that's really what it comes down to. Happy New Way. I'm tired. New Year to you too, Patty. Ursi says, this painting is ideal, perfection is super all the way. Thank you. Neil says, funny you mentioned that. I've been practicing that as well. Thank you. Yes, push down, pull back, push forward, let go. Like that, just have that in your head. It will become second nature to you. You will get to the point where it just becomes, like, you don't even think about doing it. Your hand just does it on its own. The only reason that's kind of in my head, because I say it to you guys all the time, but when you're working, you don't even think about it. And it will get to the point when you airbrush enough, and it takes practice. There's no trick, there's no video, there's no anything other than practice, and practice with those good techniques. But the more you practice, it will become to where that airbrush just feels like an extension of your hand. You can control it and get it to do whatever you want without, you're not even thinking about it. It just will do, kind of like with a paintbrush. You will get to that point, but it takes some time. You can't just, especially the control and the detail take time, but the blurry out of focus background, day one, you will have that with no problem. The airbrush for me with acrylic paint is a must-have supply. Like I consider it part of my airbrush supply, or part of my acrylic painting supplies. I love them. Barbara said, trying to do a black background on a colored pencil piece using polychromos and luminance pencils. It looks dull and uneven. Yeah, the black backgrounds, if you're drawing them with colored pencils, they tend to come out looking a bit dull. I have found that as well. Layer reds and blues into it. Don't go with just flat black. That's part of what's going to make it look dull. But if you can start layering when you're working with colored pencils, and really this would be the case for me with even paint. Rarely will I go flat black. What I will typically do, put the black, get it pretty dark, go ahead and blend out. In my case, I would blend with odorless mineral spirits. Go on top of that with red, go on top of it with purples and blues and then black. And I just kind of work back and forth with all of those colors. Light layers so that I can get as many layers as possible, because you will hit a point where it just won't take more layers. So you've got to make sure don't push too hard as you're getting to that point. But that is what I do to get my blacks super, super dark. If you go with just black on its own, it will be dull. And you have to watch too for a background. So it's kind of funny. it's kind of a contradiction. I don't love polychromos usually for my backgrounds. It works, but it takes me a bit longer to get the color saturation where I want. It tends to come out a bit grainy because they're more translucent. The Caran will lay down more solid, but the Caran black I don't find to be as true, as dark of a black as the polychromo. So words are hard, my brain is mush. You have to just kind of play around back and forth with those colors, but adding additional colors, adding the blues, purples, reds, blues and reds are my main ones that I go with. That is going to make, is it indigo blue that I like so much? India Therine, I don't know, one of those. It's a dark blue. And go with the dark blue. Don't go with like your sky blue or something like that. That is going to do the opposite for you, but that can help you get them a lot darker. And I would play on a sample piece of paper what happens with different blues and different reds. Like do little square samples to see what is going to give you the look that you're going for. Anne-Marie said, I can finally catch you when you're live as I live in Denmark. Question, would you recommend Facebook to sell paintings if you make a page? Absolutely. No, you have to remember with Facebook, Instagram, same company. When they know you're selling something, unless you pay to advertise, they don't share it with many of your fans. So there's that. Keep that in mind. However, so like with me, I have 30,000 people on Facebook. They may, if I do a post that is like I'm selling something, sharing anything about Patreon, they're probably going to share it with like 100 people out of 30,000. It's a little frustrating. Actually, it's a lot frustrating. But even so, that's still 100 people I reached for free. So it's still worth it. I still do recommend doing it, but you also want to watch when you're selling things not to get too spammy. If all your posts are, this is for sale, people start unfollowing you. They're not super interested. So you want to combine when you do the sales. And I'm not saying, like, people have misunderstood me before and they're like, well, I need to sell my work. No, I'm not saying you don't. You absolutely need to sell your work. But, and I'm not the best example here because I don't push hard enough for sales. I need to start doing that, but I get busy on making videos and then so sales get pushed back. But anyway, do more than I do for pushing sales, but also mix in maybe motivational art tips or just motivational tips. Maybe, I mean, I don't know what your brand is about, but you can mix that with your artwork. Post that it's not just, or in progress posts, you're obviously not trying to sell something. Oh, thank you, Uncle 60. So this, for one Christmas cookie, thank you. That's really sweet. But you don't want to, push too hard on the sales. This is for sale. I have a sale going on. Now I'm trying to sell this one. If you do that too much, one, Facebook smushes it so people don't see the content anyway. Two, people they don't want to feel like they're being sold to all the time. So you've got to find a nice balance of how much you're trying to push sales versus not, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think that there's no reason not to try to sell on Facebook. You may not reach all your fans, but it's still free to reach some of them, so it's not all bad. It's not as good. Like I used to get a decent amount of sales through Facebook or cut portraits. Like I would get commissions and stuff that way. I really don't. Well, I haven't tried to sell anything on Facebook in a while, but even when I was, Facebook really did kind of squish that where they don't want. Basically, if you're making money, they want you paying them. They're very. I want to say greedy. I mean, I'm okay. I get that a business needs to make money, but they're also putting ads on our content. So they're kind of double dipping there, which is where my real issue is with that. Because I get that a business has to be able to make money. I have no problem with that. But you're putting ads and then on top of putting ads on my content, you want me to pay for people to you're already making money off the ads. That's the whole, a little frustrating for me. But anyway, no, I mean, at least with the free. Now, whether or not you run ads, I don't know of many people who were successful. I think it depends on what the ad is for on Facebook. Some people have done it depending on what content and how they try to reach people and they were super successful. And then some people were very much not. I do not recommend ever running Facebook ads to try to get more followers. That I would say hands down, never, because Facebook has gotten in trouble. They've pretty much proved, there have been videos proving this, where even if you're like, I only want to target people in Dallas, Texas, because it's local to me. There have been videos proving Facebook still, the majority of the ads, the majority of the followers were fake accounts from India. So it wasn't even real followers, people who would potentially buy someone or potentially be a customer. So I do not recommend using Facebook to get followers. I want followers who are actually interested. So from YouTube, I send people over there and that sort of thing. But or organically from people sharing the content. Hopefully I can, you know, I make posts that are motivational. I do, you know, stuff like that a lot. So hopefully that will grow the thing. But I do not recommend paying Facebook to get subscribers. Now, paying them to run an advertisement that then goes out to the subscribers, or I say subscribers, but I mean the followers you already have, that may be beneficial depending on how you, I guess, make that ad. If you're interested in doing that. I kind of have a whole like, nope, not going to do it thing because Facebook makes me mad, but that's just me. Let's see. Veronica says, Happy New Year. I'm about to dive into sanded paper for a colored pencil for the first time. Is the new brush and pencil paper your favorite? Absolutely. Definitely. I've only used it the once, and without a doubt, like, I'm going to find myself using, because I still have a ton. I bought so much because it was on sale a few years ago. I bought a ton of Pro Art, or not, I say Pro Art, I bought it from Pro Art. Fisher 400, I always say Pro Art when I actually mean Fisher 400. I buy it from Pro Art. But I got a ton of it, and so now I'm like, what am I going to use this on? Because I don't want to waste it, but it's not my favorite, because definitely the new, yes, the brush and pencil, the Lux Archival, definitely my favorite. It's just so consistent throughout the whole thing. The paper thickness is great. The color, everything. I have nothing bad to say about that, other than I would like it to be mounted, but I guess they said that that's in the future. But I would love to buy it pre-mounted because I do like sanded paper to be mounted. This is thick enough, it doesn't need to be, but it is my preference. So that is the only thing, and like I said, they said they were looking at that in the future. You can mount it yourself. I'm just very lazy, very lazy. I just want to pick up the paper and start drawing. But yes, that is my favorite, and behind that would be Fisher 400 for me. Joseph said, but on Facebook, we are the product. Products can't sell products, must be their thing. Yeah, you are correct. Okay. Yeah, Nick said the same thing, that he's used the Fisher 400 and hands down Lux Archival is the best. I knew it'd be good because I've never used anything that came from brush and pencil that I didn't think was phenomenal. I didn't think I was going to like it that much better than Fisher 400 because I like Fisher 400. But my only complaint with it is the backside of the paper is not acid free, and that concerns me. So that, you know, but as far as like this paper, I knew I would probably move to using it exclusively just because it's acid free, front, back, all of the parts are completely good. But yeah, I didn't expect the performance to be this good, like to stand out that much. I was very surprised, very happily surprised. Zara said, someone saw my art and told me I should consider selling it, but I said no because I'm not that confident in my work yet, and now I don't know if I should start selling or keep practicing. It depends. I think if you're using archival products, you know that it's not going to fade, anything like that. You're safe to sell in that aspect. Now, if it comes to taking commissions, this is where it gets a little bit kind of iffy. Oh, hold on. Let me grab this paint over here. But if it gets a little kind of iffy, this is transparent mixing wet I'm going to put out. And it's the Liquitex Heavy Body because I cannot freaking find my Liquitex Basics in this since I moved. I don't know where half my belongings are right now. And I've unpacked almost everything, so yeah, I'm not allowed. Whenever I clean, I lose things. And so apparently unpacking means I lose things as well. Moving on. What were we talking about? Okay, so the one thing that if you're not confident, I would say don't take commissions. Sell finished work where people look at it and go, I like exactly what this is right now. I love it. I want to buy it. They can see the finished product. The problem for people when they're like not really confident in their work, or they're newer to it, when you take commissions where someone's like, I want you to paint my dog. I saw you paint this dog and it was awesome. I want you to do the same work on my dog. When you're new, you may not understand what reference photo is going to work, if you're going to get the same quality because you don't know what reference photo, like maybe the first dog that they loved had the most amazing reference photo ever, and I will come back to that. I'll give you an example of that in a minute. But I would say if you're not confident yet, maybe don't take commissions, but sell completed paintings. If you complete landscape, wildlife, whatever it is that you paint, and somebody likes it, try selling on eBay, Etsy. You know, you've got those options on your own website, Facebook, absolutely. Go ahead and sell it. And again, archival matters. You don't want to sell something to somebody that you find out 10 years later completely faded to a different color. If you are unwilling to repaint it for them in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, if what you used paint, you know, faded, don't sell it. So that's kind of my standard. If I sold something and it did fade, and it was kept in proper conditions, and I know that it was, then I'm going to replace it. I need to, that you've got that side of the sales when it comes to art. I think you need to be responsible for. But an example with the commission side of things, and I've told this story a million times, there was an Italian Greyhound forum that I was on. There was a girl who was a young artist. She was in college, and one of the people who had Italian Greyhounds on the site, she's a photographer, like a professional photographer. She gave her a photo of her dog that was stunning. The photo itself was beautiful. The lighting, the composition, everything about this was beautiful. The girl did it in colored pencil, and the work was amazing. I mean, like, holy crap, amazing. So another friend was like, wow, I will pay you to draw my dogs. So she provided her with the reference photo, and she worked from that reference photo. And when my friend got the finished painting, she was furious. It was horrible. It looked like someone painted it. You went from someone who painted something or did something in colored pencil that was photorealistic to something that looked like a child did it. It didn't even look like the same artist because she wasn't experienced enough to know to say, hey, I can't work from that photo. And that was really the problem. So I told my friend, I'm like, show me your photo that you sent her. And I looked at, and it was like the dogs in the dark across the room on the couch. You couldn't see anything. It was a horrible photo. The artist was in the wrong here. The artist should have said, no, I cannot work from that photo. You're not going to get the same quality as the one you saw that you liked. And the problem came down to this artist was too young, too new. No, I don't even want to say young. I would say too inexperienced to know, don't take a job where you can't produce the same quality consistently. It's going to produce a very bad name for yourself. So that's really what it comes down to, I would say. If you're new, if you're not confident, don't take commissions yet, but those finished paintings, if someone sees a finished painting you did and they want to buy it, sell it. That's great. Let's see. Nick said, I caught myself using a piece of Fisher 400 to put a point on my pencils. Oh my gosh. And Fisher 400 is expensive too. That's funny. You're using it to sand your pencils. That's amazing. I think I'll probably end up using it for a little sample, like, I don't know, where I don't want to waste my Lux Archival. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Christy said, is the Lux Archival thick enough? I thought their products needed to be used on a solid surface. Do you think it will be okay if we store the artwork flat until it's framed? Yeah, as long as it's stored flat, you're fine. I taped mine to a drawing board as I work, so it's flat, and then I put it in one of my flat bowl, like it's stored flat, and it's fine. Like you wouldn't, when it talks about wanting it to be flat, you don't want to roll it up in a tube, like and ship it rolled up. So that's really what we talk about with it needing to be flat. Good question, though. Thanks, Margaret. Danae said, hi, Lisa. Was wondering if you have any new art business-related goals for the new year. Thank you for all your hard work you put into these videos. My schedule has to be reworked again. So we moved here, and if you've noticed, I have not been producing enough content. I mean, you had the holidays got in the way, and then I got a new dog I had to train or, get him used to our schedule and not eating everything I own. Instead, now he just collects all my stuff and puts it in his bed. Oh, he hasn't collected anything new in the last hour. That's unusual. But all of that kind of got in the way. But one of the problems I'm running into right now, so the street that I live on, this is all new construction in this area. And so right across from me, there's 2 more houses they need to finish up and then it should be pretty quiet during the day as far as like this general area. But right now I can't film I do my voiceovers in the mornings. I can't do it right now. I can only do it at night, but that's when I'm supposed to paint. And it has thrown me off, and I haven't figured out a way to work this out because I don't like to paint in the day. I just cannot get myself to do it. Plus the lighting in here is almost too bright. So it'll take about 2 months for them to finish those houses. They build those so fast, or until it quiets down enough. But one of my big goals is to get my schedule going to where I'm consistent. And I have not been consistent enough for a very long time. So that is goal number 1, and that will happen, but it might not completely happen for the next 2 months or so until those houses are mostly done. Eating healthy is going to be a big one. I have just, since we moved, been binging on anything like, oh, that looks tasty. It's full of sugar. No problem. It's fine. I don't need to fit in my clothes. And the really bad thing is my fibromyalgia is like out of control right now. It is so bad. Everything's stiff. I hurt. Because I've been eating sugar again. So sugar done. Today is day 1 of sugar is out completely, other than fruit. Like I will eat actual fruit, but no more candy, no more, added sugar to things. Like I am done. I can do honey on occasion, but not, an everyday thing, or raw honey. So that is like the eating healthy and walking now. Now I've got a walking buddy. So my Italian Greyhounds, super old, they don't want to walk with me anymore. And I don't like walking without a dog. I don't know. It seems weird to me. So it's kind of like walking without your Fitbit. Like, why am I doing this? So I'm not getting credit for this. So Gibson wants to go on walks a lot. So that's the other thing, like just being more active. I want to start feeling better because I really do feel horrible right now from my eating habits, and not being active. I don't think is not really making me feel as bad. It's the diet that's killing me at the moment. So those are big ones. And then of course I want to, what I was talking about at the beginning of the live stream, I want to start spending some more time on my work, like what I'm doing right here, this little busy stuff. Normally I'm like, okay, I'll just kind of skip over, like you get the texture, but not as much detail as this. I haven't been putting as much detail in my work as I would like, just due to time. And that's something that I want to change. So instead of having one brand new video every single week, and there will be a new video on Patreon, but it won't necessarily be a brand new project. Like this one's part 1, week 1, week 2. So that is definitely a big thing that I want to, those are probably my biggest things. And I do want to start updating my website more regularly, getting the other things, sales for my paintings. I want to actually put work, like make an effort to start selling some of those paintings. I have so many of them and I do very little. The only things that I have that are like available for sale where people could go buy them, I have a few on my website, but I don't push it. So of course it's not going to sell if you don't tell people about it, but I'm going to, like, I have some up at Aqua Studios Aquariums in the Colony in Texas. If you're in the Dallas area, you can see several of mine, several other marine paintings. So I've got a few of those up there, but I wanted to work a little bit more on selling things and kind of diversify my income a bit, because right now everything is very dependent on YouTube and Patreon, and it's kind of scary. It's like I've got a house payment now, and if any of that fails, I can't make my house payment. I have to, and as an artist, I think that's something that's important for us to do anyway, but I really want to diversify my income streams. I mean, I've got income coming from several locations, but not enough to make a house payment if it weren't for YouTube and Patreon. So those are some of my personal goals. Buying the house is terrifying, because it's like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. It's a lot. I made my first like official house payment. It was due today, so I made it a couple days ago. It actually felt good, but it's also like, I don't know, it's scary. I need to diversify where that income comes from, because you never know, especially with all the COPA changes, or COPA, or however it's said, with YouTube. We never know how that is going to go. And so I want to work a bit harder on my backup plans. Like if something fails with YouTube, how do I make sure Patreon can, that I continue advertising and getting the word out about Patreon? And how can I make Patreon videos even better? How can I make the lessons better? How can I make more people enjoy them? That sort of thing is very much on my mind. So that is my New Year's plans. Let's see. Yeah, and I know you said new art and business related, but all the health stuff goes into it with me. Let's see. Pamela said, would like to know where you get your number 2 hog hair detail brushes. I get them from Hobby Lobby. They're their generic ones. It is listed as a script liner. Number 2, it is Master's Touch. This is probably my favorite, the number 2. I use the number 3 as well. I have a number 1. I don't use the 1 or the 3 as often. The number 2 is like my go-to brush. Okay, Josephine said, hi, how long ago was it you started showing your art on YouTube? And did you ever think when you started that you would be at this point today? Plus the painting is amazing. Thank you. I want to say it was 2012 that I started producing and being fairly serious. It might have been 2011, but I think it was 2012 where I decided like, hey, I'm going to take this more seriously. I'm pretty sure I signed up with a network in like May. Yeah, it must have been April, May of 2012. So I think the videos, so maybe it was 2011 I started on YouTube. I don't know. It was around there. But I did them for maybe a year before I really started taking it seriously. Because initially, like when I started on YouTube, I didn't even know you could subscribe to somebody. So when I would get the email notifications that someone subscribed, I was like, what the heck? Like, what is this? That is crazy. So yeah, I had no idea. There was just so much I didn't know about it. I had no idea it would turn into what it did. My initial goal was that I needed a place to host the videos so that I could embed them on my website. That was my whole point of YouTube for me. So yeah, it definitely took off into its own thing. That's for sure. I did not see that coming at all. I think it was probably around 2013, 2014 that I was like, I want to make this work. I want to do more with this. So it was a couple of years of me making videos before I really, I think, took it serious, where I was focusing on the schedule, and really I pushed hard. I mean, the first year I didn't get a lot of views because, like I said, I didn't even know you could subscribe. I wasn't making the videos based around what would do well on YouTube. I was making them based on what I wanted on my website, which is two very different things at the time. And I wasn't doing lessons. They were just speed paintings that were like 3 minutes long. So then when I started, the network that I'm with, when they gave me kind of the instructions, or like, this is how you do a schedule, this is how you do whatever, then I had a good year or two of working very, very hard, producing a lot of content with still very little results. So it took a while. I'm really happy with where it ended up, but I did not see that coming, that's for sure. And I think now you can do it a lot faster because you can grow your channels faster than what I did. Back then, there just wasn't a lot of information on how, like, what worked. Why would you do different things in order to get that channel growth? I had no idea how to make it happen. Now there's so much information. If you put in any work, Tim Schmoyer's Video Creators is a big one. There's so much content out there that will tell you how to grow a channel that it would not take as long as it did me. I pretty much had been doing everything what would be considered wrong for growth on YouTube. Chantel said, hi Lisa, what brush are you using to blend out the color that you're putting down? Is it also a hog hair brush? This one is a Creative Marks one. I don't know, it's one that, all my Creative Marks I'm pretty sure came from my Smart Art box. It says Hamburg Premier. I don't know if someone wants to look that up. It is Creative Marks, number 4, Filbert. It's soft and stiff both. I don't know how to describe this one. I'm really not sure what it is, but typically I will use one of these stiff round brushes. This one's just smaller, so it works better for a small area. Any other brush will, something not quite as soft as anything, I would say a little bit more stiff than a tackle and bristled brush is suitable to blend out with. So I'm not picky on that at all. I just grab whatever, like, it wasn't something that I sat and thought, hey, this will be the perfect brush for this. It just was the right size. I know it's not helpful. If anyone is having a hard time getting your questions to show up, because I don't see it if it doesn't have, typically anyway, I don't see it if it doesn't have the @Lachri Fine Art. If it doesn't highlight in orange, I don't see it. If you can't get it to work, ask one of the moderators or somebody else to highlight it for you, and that way I can get your question, because I definitely don't want to ignore anybody, but I don't know how to keep up otherwise. Okay, so I'm going to start coming through. I'm using my transparent mixing white mixed with a bit of cobalt blue here. I'm going to start getting some of the texture, just kind of dotting. Actually, I have a little bit too much water there. It is really windy out there. That wind howling sounds kind of eerie. So when I'm filling this area in, this was such a big thing for me to learn. I wanted everything filled in solid. I wanted everything blended perfectly. You don't need that at all. So here, I don't want to fill in everything. I just want to get a few highlights, and dots really are good. Now, when I say dots, I don't mean stab the painting, and this is something that I see a lot of beginners do. When they paint, they're painting everything they're like afraid to mess up, and so they stab it. Don't stab the painting. It wasn't mean to you. No need to be violent. Brush strokes. We want actual brush strokes, not stab. So you want to avoid stabbing. Now, there are exceptions to that. Sometimes when I'm doing different landscapes, we do a little bit more stabbing. But with something like this, I don't want to stab the painting for this style anyway. But one thing that is helpful are dots. Dots are not the same as stabbing. So that's, you still want to be careful there. See how I'm just kind of little dots, little details. Not stabbing. It gives you a very different result, and we usually don't want, with the exception of, there are exceptions to everything, but usually the stabbing look we don't want. Not with wildlife. Yeah, in order to get the question to show up, if you do @Lachri Fine Art, it should highlight orange. If it's not coming up for you, ask one of the moderators, because they'll catch it before I will, and they can ask the question for you. Also, you never know. YouTube keeps changing things, so it could be that. I'll try to keep an eye on your conversations and see if I can see questions, but I can't promise that. Okay, I think this was a question I may have missed from Kim. How do you have enough memory on a camcorder to record a full lesson? What software do you use to edit? So I'm using usually 128 gig cards. So not, anywhere between a 64 to a 128. They're getting cheaper and cheaper. So now the 128s are a decent price. So I just bought a bunch of those on Black Friday. But I usually use those, and I just leave it recording. When the card runs out, the camera usually will beep and let me know. Well, not this camera, but it'll beep and let me know, and I will switch over. I just go dump all that memory off onto my computer and then switch back. Now, as for the computer, I store most things. I have an external hard drive. The one I have right now is either a 4 or an 8 terabyte, but that's where I store most of my videos. And I don't typically keep the raw content. Once my videos are edited, I delete the original files. They're just too big. I can't store them all. So I keep the Patreon videos and I keep the YouTube videos in case something happens and I lose them or, whatever. So those are the ones that I keep. And every few months I go and get rid of my original files because they end up sitting on my computer for way too long. Was that the whole question? Yeah, and as far as what software I use right now, I'm using Premiere Pro from Adobe. Love it. A little bit hard to get used to, but it has so many features. I absolutely love it. If you don't want to go that route, an easier way, which is also still effective, was Cyberlink. It was Cyberlink Power Director is what I used to use before that, and it was definitely suitable. It doesn't have as many features. You can't do as much with it, but it was good to get used to and get started with video editing. Percy says, this painting is looking truly amazing. Thank you. Uh-oh, chicken's in there screaming away. I bet his music ended. Alexa, play Dave Matthews Band on Chicken's Echo. That will usually amuse him enough. On Amazon Music. He likes Dave Matthews Band. Yeah, he starts screaming. Sometimes he'll scream when it's playing, but usually, like when it ends, that's a pretty good indication that he needs new music. And yes, Chicken has his own echo. No, he's still screaming. Did not solve the problem. At least not being in an apartment anymore, I don't have to worry about that. That was always, your neighbors don't want to listen to your bird scream. Don't have to worry about that now. Really, really nice. I was afraid I would miss that apartment. I don't at all. Let's see. Yeah, it totally is like the Jetsons. I've got like so much of the automated stuff we do now, like the Ring doorbell where I can see who's out there. I don't even have to get up. I just have the echoes on my desk. I can just look at that if somebody's out there. I check it regularly too because I keep ordering things from Chewy because Gibson needs new stuff. So my addiction to Chewy is a little bit ridiculous. I never had that app before and I've gone a little overboard. Goodbye, Christmas money. You're buying stuff for my dogs. But anyway, I love I can just look on the camera from my phone and see if the packages are here yet because heaven forbid a delivery person actually ring a freaking doorbell or knock or whatever. A little frustrating there. I don't know why so much stuff gets stolen, being that they don't bother to let people know that the item was delivered. Anyway, moving on. Done with that rant. The Roomba for vacuuming, which I don't even, with these floors, they get dirty anyway. They're tile throughout the house. They're the wood look tile. But Gibson drags in so much grass and crap from outside. I would be cleaning all day if it weren't for Roomba going through and cleaning up for me. But it is totally like the Jetsons in here now. It's really funny. Roomba's like one of my favorite things. I need to glue his googly eyes back on. He runs into walls and knocks them off. Pamela said, have you ever tried a squirrel liner brush? And if so, is it good for detail? No, I have not. I honestly have not ever used quality brushes. I use pretty cheap stuff. I mean, the highest quality I've ever probably used is Low Cornell, which, you know, not the, it's not the highest. Brushes I've never been super picky on. And it may be that just because I've not used a high quality, if I ever did, I might totally change my mind. But it's like these cheapy ones do what I want them to do. And maybe it just be that I've adapted my techniques because I've been using them since, you know, I started. So yeah, no, I'm really not sure there. I should order one and find out though. I would like to try some more expensive brushes to see if I notice much of a difference. Just smudge that out a little bit. Now this is the transparent mixing white, so it's going to take a lot of layers in order for me to really get it as bright as I want. It's essentially glazing to lighten them. Is it okay to use some fixative spray once you've done the acrylic painting? I don't use a fixative spray. I use a varnish, and you can use a varnish spray or you could use a varnish that you paint on. Either way is fine. But not a fixative is not the way I would go. Let's see, when and where can I start selling my artwork, and how do I get exposure, and how do you do can you do a 2020 video about starting an art business, going further into details, please? Those are really good topics. Where you can start selling your paintings, God, there's so many options. You can, if you're looking locally, you can try your local, like if you have any small coffee shops, that was always where we started. Of course, Starbucks kind of took over most of that, but coffee shops, small shops, small mom and pop shops. See if they will display your work. Etsy, eBay, your own website, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, you have so many options. Those are your places that I would say to start. And then if you've got any local galleries, some towns have local galleries that focus on like newer up and coming artists, and those would be the ones you want to hit. Most of the time, the galleries that are, they have more established artists, they're not going to work with somebody who doesn't have a name for themselves yet. So you want to try to find somewhere when you're getting started that does work with newer artists. But not every town has those. You have to look around. You may have to go outside of your current town to find those. But those are things that you can try. What is the question you get asked the most on your live Q&As? Oh gosh. I bet the moderators could answer that one better than I can. I can't think right off the top of my head. What is the question I get asked the most? And I know there are questions I get asked on every single thing. I don't know. Nick and Joseph, what are the questions I get asked most? I can't think right now. Trying expensive supplies is dangerous because what if you like them? Oh, exactly. I mean, with airbrush paint, it was so much easier when I just went to Michael's or Hobby Lobby and picked them up. Now I have to order Goldens online. It's not actually that it's that expensive. It's just not available everywhere locally. Canvases and paint. Yes, you are correct. Colored pencils was the big one. I'm jealous. My Uncle 60, he's having apple pie and beer. That is an odd combination, but also I'm kind of jealous. What varnish brand is the best? I can't say what's the best. I've used several. My favorite, the one that I use the most is Liquitex High Gloss Varnish. Ursi said, City Arts Councils too. Try this. Oh, yes. Good tip if you're looking to get started in selling your work. Try your city council. See, they may be able to tell you if you've got local arts guilds, art clubs. I didn't even think about that. Great suggestions. Do mods get paid? No, but they definitely should. They definitely should. Add some dots in here, and these will dry a little bit on the translucent side. I'm still trying to think. Is that oil or acrylic? It is acrylic. Oh, is that one of my most common questions? One is my favorite. People who ask what my favorite medium is. I think that's probably one of the more common questions. Yeah, Joseph, is this acrylic or oil? Which colored pencils do you recommend most? Yes. So what is the best colored pencil? Definitely. See, I knew you guys would know. Thanks, Linda. You know, it's funny, when we bought this house, the main thing for me, I needed an office and I needed a studio. I wanted 2 different rooms for that. And as excited as I was about all of these, somehow my studio is the one room, I have no idea how I want this room decorated. Like, I've gotten the rest of the house done, but not the main room that I bought the house for. Like, I love the space, but I have no idea how I'm going to decorate this. Starving Artist Collective said, happy 2020, packing my house for moving, and your live stream is the best reason to forget my boxes and just stare at the screen. Have you fully settled in after your move? Happy. Yes, definitely happy. Fully settled in, not completely. I still have a lot I'm doing. Like, I spent some of my Christmas money, besides on my dogs, and the chickens and the fish. Anyway, I got these, I'll post them on Instagram when I'm going to work on those tomorrow. But these cool shelves, they're Craftsman, so they're like these plastic ones that have these tubs that fit in them for all my gardening supplies. And that's out in the garage. So I've got like a lot of projects going, a lot of things. I finally cleaned out and organized the pantry. We've got this really large walk-in pantry here. And I cleaned and organized that when we first moved in. That was kind of just storage. I was just shoving everything in there. So I got that cleaned out this weekend. I've got there's just so many oh, I see something I missed. There's just so many projects that I have to do. So I'm mostly settled. I just have like a never-ending list of things that I still need to get done. So, pull that up just a bit. So yeah, it's amazing. I absolutely love the house. I got really lucky. We've got really cool neighbors. They've got lab poodle mixes that are just the cool, like really cool dogs. And yes, that's how I associate people, is by the dogs they own. I used to work at an animal hospital the same way. I could never tell you the client's name, but I always knew the dog's name. But they're really nice people. And yeah, I mean, we've just been lucky. Like, everything about this, I have absolutely loved. This house, the location, everything. Yeah, we're pretty happy with it. We've been really lucky too. Like, the few things that have been wrong, like water leak there was a small pipe that they had to fix, like a small water leak in the kitchen. They've had to replace a few cabinet doors and send out people to repair different things. And they do it so quickly. Like, I'm really happy with the builder that we went with, and just everything's been great. I don't really have anything. I'm super looking forward to spring. Like, cannot wait for spring, for the grass to be green, and I have crepe myrtles I want to plant up there, because right now when I look out my studio windows, it's just dark. The backyard is super dark. It's not going to be when I'm done. I want to get solar lights and stuff out for the plants and trees out there, and I cannot wait to start on that. So that is what I'm most looking forward to now. And also, good luck on your move. I never want to move again. I hope we like it here forever, because I never want to move again. It took me a long time to recover. I think I'm still recovering. Well, mostly I'm still recovering because I kept eating crap food. Zale said, most asked question, will you try those foreign colored pencils that you won't try because they aren't open stock or listed? I forget the name. Yes, the Holbein. You are right. I haven't had that question in a while, though. Yes, that one definitely is asked a lot. Data Factory said, since it looks like YouTube is going downhill, do you recommend another video platform to make videos, or stick to YouTube? Speaking as a beginner, I would start with YouTube. We don't know how downhill it's going. We just don't know. Things will always change. You always want to have a backup. I mean, look at MySpace. That would have sucked if that was your whole business model, or, what you planned on for your business. So, you always want to have a backup, but right now there is no good alternative. I've heard minds.com is a good social media platform with an alternative, but when I looked into it, they wanted a monthly pay. I don't know. I didn't look that far into it. Try to think, there's just nothing. Vimeo, you can only upload so many videos. I pay like $400 a year in order to use Vimeo, which is really frustrating because it also sometimes doesn't play on Apple products, because Apple is Apple and they like to do updates that make things not work with their products. So, I don't know that there is a better option right now. So, anywhere where you can build that, you can of course do Twitch for live streaming, and you've got options like that, but there just really isn't anything that is going to work as well as YouTube. Now, I think that the thing with YouTube is to know what changes are going on so that you can just kind of counter that and work that into your business model. So like for me, I sure as heck, I used to recommend people, if you want to grow fast, do videos for kids. I never got into it, and I'm really glad I didn't now, but I would never recommend that now. Now I would format the videos not to be something that would attract kids. You know, that is, we constantly have to play, and it's been the case with YouTube from the beginning as far as their algorithm. They change their algorithm constantly. YouTubers used to make a lot more money on YouTube. They don't now, and so like where people back then, when the ad revenue started leaving YouTube, people were like, it's failing, YouTube isn't going to work. Well, no, then Patreon popped up as our alternative, which worked out great because it allows me to teach longer lessons. So, you know, that is where now I make the income, not so much from YouTube. Yes, the ad revenue went down, but we've got an alternative so we can make YouTube still work. And that may be what happens. Maybe YouTube will continue, and we just have to figure out how to best work with, there are never-ending changes in algorithms, and there are never-ending changes in everything, in their terms of service and their policies. So it may be as simple as that. I would still start YouTube. If nothing else, you're getting practice on making videos. So you're still not out anything, and it's free. So I would still go ahead and start here. And if something better comes along, which hopefully it does, and like I said, there are no alternatives. Vimeo, I don't count as an alternative. You have to pay to have very many videos on there. You can upload some for free, but you are limited. At least for me, I've got too much content, so I have to pay. But no one's going to find you on Vimeo. People go to Vimeo to find, you know, people make videos on Vimeo and then link them to other platforms. They're not being searched for on Vimeo for the most part. So you're not like going to be discovered over there. It's really just not going to happen. Whereas YouTube, you can be discovered. So yeah, I'd still say go with YouTube and just figure out what their terms of service are and their policies, and manipulate your videos into best fitting that, to working, to be able to share the message you want to share, or your art videos, or whatever it is that you want to do, but still be able to succeed and not violate their stuff. Like even with me, I had two videos I went through and deleted that were older ones where I had answered on Q&As where kids had asked questions. There were two of them. I went and deleted them. Gone. Because if YouTube's thing is nothing that could attract kids, you know, in that one, they were me answering a child or somebody who was like 12 years old. So gone. I went ahead and changed my own things, and I'm very careful. And I mean, my videos, other than those two videos, have never been for kids. So you just kind of work around whatever the current, I guess, restraints are. You're always, no matter where you go, no matter what platform you're doing, just life in general, you have to learn how to play the game. You have to learn how to, you know, with Facebook. I still use Facebook. You hear me complaining about it all the time, but I still use it. I still post over there. You just have to learn how to best play the game, and of course look for alternatives when they're available, but right now they're just not. So yes, I recommend, that is a lot of words to say, make YouTube videos. Let's see. We have that one. Got that one. Elaine said, when using black colored pencil with graphite, would you avoid putting it on top of pencil? You can put it on top of the pencil. It just doesn't stick well. Like colored pencil doesn't stick well on top of graphite. Graphite's extremely slick. And if you have many layers of graphite, especially, it would be that case. But I would test it. The type of paper you use, the amount of pressure that you use, you've got a lot of things there that will make a difference. But there's not a hard rule like you can't put colored pencil on top of graphite. It's not an issue of that. It's just an issue of if it's going to stick, it's going to stick. Or if it's not going to stick, it's not going to stick, depending on how much pressure you've added. Did you burnish it? You've got a lot of things in there. Now, when I work with colored pencil and graphite together, I don't usually like them to overlap very much. Just like I said, they don't stick that well. But there's no like you can't do it or you can do it. You just have to play around with the technique. You can, depending on how much pressure you added to the graphite in the first place and how many layers and the type of paper you're using. Naomi said, how are you keeping your paints damp? I just tuned in and may have missed a lot of info. Actually, I have not covered that. So these will stay wet for days. Well, not days if I live. Like this one's actually starting to dry because that one's been out for a while. But most of these were newer. This one was older, so you can see it's starting to get a film on it. But when I close this, it works like a Tupperware. It's a Masterson. Masterson. I can read. It's a Masterson, and it works like a Tupperware. So what I will do is take a bit of paper towel. I'll fold it up, get this wet. I'll just dip it in my paint water and stick it on like an empty spot on the palette and then seal it off, and the paint will stay wet for months. I've had it stay wet for months. I opened it up and it was still wet. So while I'm working, these areas start to dry where I've kind of mixed it with water and it's thinner, but the big glob, that will stay wet. at least with the Liquitex Basics. Now this area here, this is the Liquitex Heavy Body. The Heavy Body paints dry really fast. Those just, I have to replace them every so often. They don't stay wet. They dry. That's one of the things I hate about them. They dry so freaking quick. Mrs. Ray said, how do you store all of your paint supplies? I have such a disorganized mess. So I do have an older video that goes over this. If you look up Lachri and art supply storage, studio tour, one of those words, I show you how I store, and I'm still storing mine the exact same way that I did in that video, even though it's an older video. So that will give you an idea of how I store them. But most of mine, I don't think it shows, no, you can't see it. I've got a dresser. It's an IKEA dresser. They run about $100, and it's a wood, a solid wood one. And I painted it with chalk paint, so it's the teal and the colors that I like. And I have a different drawer for each supply. So one for oil paint, one for acrylic paint, one for airbrush supplies, and it's all separated that way. And then I also have, I don't know if you can see these, if I pull it up. I have these little carts I got from Michael's that hold my paints as I'm working, like the stuff that I currently need. I really don't know if that's going to show for you, but I'm going to knock stuff off on the floor. But that works out really well too. But that's more of like temporary stuff, the stuff I'm currently using. When I'm done working on this painting, I'll put this away and then pull out new colors or new whatever I'm going to be working in. So that is how I do. Whoops. I am missing a bunch of questions. Hold on, actually, let me rinse this brush while I find these questions I'm missing. 1 second. Daniel said, what about MeWe for a page and videos for artist career to share in their Facebook links? For MeWe, a page, so the MeWe, I want to say, Nick will know, because I think Nick signed up for it too. It's like $2 a month or $3 a month for like a business page on MeWe, and I definitely did sign up for that. That is totally worth it to me, especially if MeWe does well, and I hope it does, so I want to support them. But that one has that type of page, and the thing that's cool about MeWe is it's not filtering your content the way that Facebook does. So it's easy for people to see the things that you post. I have no problem paying a few dollars a month if people who want to follow me would actually see it. So no, MeWe is a great way to go. As far as videos, I'm not sure how much you're able to upload with videos on MeWe. I have not looked yet. It'd be great if that was something that we can do, but you have to keep in mind, one of the reasons that you don't have a lot of success with other video platforms, video takes up so much space to store. So like with YouTube forever was losing money because they're storing everyone's cat videos. And here's a video of me closing a door. Like people make the most random stuff, which doesn't make YouTube any money on advertisement revenue, obviously, because no one's watching it, yet they're storing this video that nobody will watch. So it's kind of funny. I remember back, I mean, you have to have a general understanding of how business works. But back when YouTube changed their policy, it just fell. When YouTube changed their policy where they were not allowing you to have advertisements on your content until you had 1,000 subscribers and a certain amount, like 10,000 views in a year or whatever it was they changed it to. And I remember one girl flipping out about it, and she was extremely irrational. On one of the comments on the videos, she in a group, he was in a group, she actually said, well, I make content that nobody would want to watch, so I will never hit those standards or the new tiers, so I'll never be able to monetize my content. Wait, so you make content, you're yourself saying nobody would ever want to watch, that nobody is interested in watching, but you expect YouTube to pay you for it? They're not making money then. Like, you have to, I think, be a bit reasonable on how people get a little bit crazy on not understanding how business works. But the problem with video is it takes up a lot of space. It is very expensive to store. I mean, look at ourselves. With the videos that I have, I keep having to buy more and more hard drives just to store the original video. Not mentioning if you were having to stream it to people who watch it, it's very expensive. And that's why it's going to be very hard for another company to compete with YouTube, because it takes a lot of money to get it going. I don't know what the answer is, and I hope that somebody else, I'm hoping for more competition within, video hosting sites. But right now, I don't know, and I don't know how MeWe will do that if they're allowing MeWe. I don't know. I have Wemo smart plugs that don't work right now, none of them, and MeWe. That's why I keep getting that backwards. But anyway, it is very expensive to store that, and it's going to be very hard for somebody to compete. And I don't know with MeWe what they're planning to as far as video hosting and how that's going to work. I don't know. It'd be great if it did take off, but I'm not sure. Mrs. Ray said, how do you store all of your paint supplies? I have such a disorganized mess. So I do have an older video that goes over this. If you look up Lachri and art supply storage, one of those words, I show you how I store them. Does YouTube Premium affect the YouTuber? We get a cut of it, of like the videos you watch. If you're on Premium, there is like in the analytics, it'll show me like how much of my income came from YouTube Premium. So, I mean, we do make still a profit from people who signed up for that. I'm not sure like if it's good or bad. I don't really pay that much attention, honestly. So I'm not sure how much it affects us, but I know that we do get a cut of that just like we would ad revenue. Yada Factory said, it's a shame because I'm trying to get into children's illustration, but I'm afraid to share that on YouTube. Bummer. Yeah, I absolutely would not. I would not start anything for kids on YouTube. I would stick to, and see, the thing is, even though we're like, yeah, it's YouTube, oh my gosh, the horrible practices, whatever, they're limiting what we can do for kids, that the COPPA laws, they apply across the board. They are going to eventually go after Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else too. And it really sucks because it means we're limited, like people want content for their kids. These laws are not they're not helping kids at all. I am all for protecting children, but that is not what these laws are doing. So yeah, I don't have an answer for you. I really don't know how that's going to work out for you besides just doing illustration on books that are sold. But as far as promoting it on social, I don't know. It really, a lot of it I think comes down to, are there ads on it? Like you can make the content for YouTube, but you have to mark that it's for kids and you are going to be limited because of that. But that doesn't mean that you can't make children's content. It just, you won't get ads or not many ads because it can't be targeted ads. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know all the rules there. I would say just anyone look further into this. Don't come to me for the information here because I'm like getting my information from all over the place, but I haven't focused too much on the kids side of things. Like what if it is for kids, how you market, how it affects you. I just don't know. Am I on MeWe? I am. And it's linked. I have the link should be in the video description. You should join me. I really like the platform a lot, and it sucks because too many right now. I still find myself using Facebook at least as much as I do MeWe, just because that's where more people are posting. I'm really hoping more and more go over. So I'm making myself, like if I post on Facebook, I try to make myself, and I forgot to post tonight's video. See, that sort of thing. I forgot to post that on MeWe tonight or the live stream. But I'm hoping, I'm making myself post more and more because if all of us are posting over there more, that's what's going to make MeWe successful, is people actually using the platform, not just signing up, but going in and posting content and sharing that on other platforms. So yeah, hopefully that will take off. But yes, I am over there. Phyllis said, be careful with solar lights. With Gibson, he sounds just like Lexi. She pulled up every one of mine and broke them. Well, he's not allowed in the backyard if I'm not with him because I'm terribly neurotic and terribly worried about him running away or like getting out of the fence. The fence has a lock on it, but I'm still just neurotic. We'll go with that. So any of my friends that know me in real life are sitting there nodding their heads going, yes, she is. But he doesn't go out there without me, so I would keep an eye on him. He definitely likes to take, like he's found when we were building, my husband put together his barbecue last night, and there were 2 little plastic pieces off something or another. He runs off with that, so we're chasing him down, trying to get the things out of his mouth. So we're having to be very careful about leaving any like little plastic bits around. That seems to be his favorite thing right now. As far as things like he takes off and actually chews those. So it's not like my stuff that he's collecting and just putting in his bed. He's actually trying to chew those, which is not super safe. Okay. A little bit of a highlight here. I'm going to pull that, just soften that a bit. Now watch when you do blend things. See how it was just a couple of brush strokes. It's very easy, especially if you're new to painting. You make a couple brush strokes, you blend it out, and you're like, wow, that looks good. So more blending must look better. No. Don't over blend things. A couple brush strokes and that is it. Let's see. Yeah, and we have a Lachri Fine Art group over on MeWe as well. Oh my gosh, Phyllis said it was funny talking about her dog that stole her solar things. It was funny because she's mostly black and all you can see at night is the light bouncing as she ran. Oh my gosh, that would totally be my backyard. Thank you for the warning. I will definitely be watching for that when we set those up. That is so funny. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't funny to you when you were trying to chase her down with him, but Diamond Painting set with SB says, I have a pure white American Eskimo dog, or American Eskimo dogs. What do you suggest for painting their hair? brushes and Liquitex paint colors. So it depends on the color setting. Look at the base layer. Usually, like let's say I'm painting a white animal, I would probably start with purples or a grayish purple or a gray or a bluish gray. It depends on the lighting that you're in. But I start with a base color similar to what this guy has, and then I'm going to put the white on top of it. The white is not, very little of them will be real white. Only the brightest highlights are going to be white. It's easy to look at an animal. This is a great question. I'm going to rinse my brush because I'm going to talk about this for a bit. But it's easy to look at an animal and see white fur, or let's say it's a white rose and go, okay, it's white, paint it white. Well, now you have a cartoon because it's flat. It has no depth. Very little is actually going to be white. Look up any painting, like look up a painting of a white fox, or I'm trying to think of different white animals, a polar bear, of other animals that are white, but type in painting, realistic painting of, white fox, whatever, and see the way that these are painted. See the colors that they use. Not very much of it is white. The white is reflective. It's going to pick up the colors that is around it. Blues, purples, grays. Careful with the grays. I would go with like bluish gray or purplish gray. I wouldn't go straight black and white gray, or you'll make him look old or it ages them. So I don't go straight gray usually. But you're going to have a lot of other colors. Very little white will actually be used. Thanks, Greg. Greg says, I'm so thankful for your videos. Thank you so much. Oops. Oh, I missed a lot of questions here. Hold on one second. Sal said, how do artists get their work to sell for thousands and millions of dollars? How do they make it that valuable? Okay, so that's kind of a funny thing, and it's almost, I don't want to say scam. So the way that the tax laws work, people who have, you've got several parts, but people aren't looking for tax write-offs for a couple $100s. They're looking for tax write-offs of the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Things are not worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like if I sell this painting, let's say I sell it for $900. The type of person who is going to spend millions on a painting is not going to buy from me, who sells other paintings that the average person technically could afford. Or, maybe not the $1,000, $900 one, but some of the lesser ones. Most of the people who are spending that kind of money, it's a status symbol for them. And they want something that the average person can't afford. That's like the thing. It's a status symbol. Kind of like somebody who will only wear Nikes. It's the name brand, the status of that. So it's hard because you have to get your work has to all be expensive, all of it, and you have to get it in front of the people, the people that have the money, the expendable income, and there's a huge tax. There's a lot of tax stuff involved, and there's a lot of kind of scamminess going on with the taxes in order to get the deductions. So they'll buy stuff from artists who only sell it for a certain price. This is how you end up selling a banana for $120,000. You've got a lot of questionable things going on to get different deductions. And so part with art is used a lot for that. But you also have people who are actual collectors, and they don't want a painting that, yes, they can afford $900, no problem. It's not a good status symbol. They want the painting that they spent $2 million on, and all that artist's work all goes for that kind of money because that artist has built a name for themselves. So there's a lot of stuff involved there. I used to know people who, they said they made junk art, and it essentially was. They found junk, old pieces of metal, car parts and such, and turned it into sculptures, and they all sold for thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. That was the minimum, and they had a lot of friends they knew because of the type of cars they repaired, or I forget what it was. This was a long time ago, but they even told me back then, and from my understanding, it's the same now. People wanted it because all their prices were that high, and there was a bit of a status symbol in having one of their pieces. There is no status symbol to having one of my pieces, to somebody who has millions of dollars of expendable income. They're not getting that kind of status symbol. Let's see how many times I can say that word, or those two words. They're not getting that from me. And so you kind of have to decide where you're going and how you're targeting that. But then again, let's say I put a price tag on this for $2 million. Everyone's going to laugh me right out of, there's stuff that I certainly don't understand completely. I understand parts, how you make that work to where you're selling them for millions. I'm not sure. I really don't know. I know it doesn't work, and I know that you've got that tax thing, and then you've got the status thing, and you've got all these things, and how you combine that to be one of the people making it for that much, I don't know. But yeah, that's some of, I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg there too. There's so much involved. And getting your name known. I mean, that can be a thing. Having a demand for your work. You may get to the point, it is possible to get to your work where you start selling it for this price and you get it to where you're selling all your work for millions because there's such a demand for it because of the name you've built for yourself. That may be the best, maybe the way you do it. But most of the people that I know of who are selling for millions kind of started selling for very high. So I don't know. Or at least once they were known, they were going for that much. Do I post anything on Pinterest? Yes, I'm a huge Pinterest fan. Half the stuff on there are just things I save because I'm like, I want my backyard to look like that. So it's not just artwork. I have artwork, but I also have all of my personal interests are on Pinterest. The link is in the video description, or it should be. Yeah, Nick said he thinks it's $3 a month for the page, having an art page on MeWe. I think it's worth it. Is they don't have ads either, so they've got to make money selling. Going back to the social media platform MeWe, it's like Facebook but better if you're not familiar with it. It's when Facebook used to be good, that's what MeWe is. But there's no advertisements. They make their money selling add-ons. So like if I have a bee icon pack I bought for like $2 or something. They'll sell it for that. You don't have to buy it. You can still use other emojis, emoticon, whatever. I can't think of words right now, but they've got like things that you can buy if you want, like having your own page. You can pay $3 a month if you want that. Do you have to have it? No, you can use your personal one if you want. But they've got, it's pretty cool. I like their business model a lot so far. Let's see. Elaine said, do you think voiceovers are a good video to start with on YouTube? Absolutely. When I started with YouTube, I didn't get a lot of views. If I did a voiceover, those were not the ones that typically got views in the beginning. If you had a video, back in 2012, 10, 11, if your video was longer than like 3 minutes, you lost the viewer. So voiceovers, there was no time to put words in something that short. Now it's different. Now people watch YouTube as like TV. They put it on while they're doing other, cleaning, whatever. They'll put that on there and instead of TV. So now people want longer content, and having the voiceover, yeah, I think it's a real good way to go. One of the things I want to do, I forget who it was who asked me earlier what some of my art goals were for this year, art and business goals. One of the things that I do want to do, because if you follow me on social media, you've seen where I occasionally share like a 3-minute long or a 1-minute long usually with music of like a super sped up video. I want to put some of those on YouTube as well along with the voiceovers. So I may start doing those. I mean, if I'm making them for the other platforms, I may as well share them here too. So, but yeah, I think that the voiceovers are a very good way to go. So this guy, before anyone was like, oh, his nose is crooked. No, his tongue is sticking out. He was in the process of chewing and he is crooked on purpose. Let's see. And going back to Diamond with painting with Eskies, who asked about painting their fur. As far as the brushes, I like with acrylics, I mostly use Taklon bristle brushes with the exception of my, it's a synthetic hog-haired lighter brush, but most of my brushes are Taklon bristled. I do have a few of these stiff round, like cheapy brushes. I think they're supposed to be like a synthetic hog hair. They're not listed. It's generic. It's listed number 4. That is what the brush is called. But, brushes, you're just going to play around with a lot of different brushes, but mostly the Taklon bristles are my favorites for acrylics. Sarah said, I don't see why anything is fundamentally wrong with making content to entertain or educate kids, nor with making money off such content. I'm absolutely with you. It came down to collecting it. They don't want YouTube or you or anybody collecting information on the kids, which as creators, we're not doing anyway. But YouTube was apparently tracking, they knew that it was minors, they knew it was kids watching certain content, and they were putting ads targeted towards kids of that age that they could tell through the algorithm. So YouTube's the one who screwed this up. But I don't know. I mean, the funny thing with that is YouTube's terms of service say you have to be 13 anyway. So the whole thing is just, it's not just about those laws. It's about, you've got lobbyists and you've got people involved that don't, like mainstream media does not want YouTube to survive. YouTube takes a lot of money away from mainstream media because so many people, especially younger people, would rather watch YouTube than watch whatever is on TV. I don't even have TV, and I'm old. A lot of people do not watch mainstream media anymore. Mainstream media is getting annoyed because we're watching Netflix instead. We're watching YouTube instead. And so this was just one more way to try to get some of those funds back to them. So people have to have their kids go back to watching normal TV instead of watching YouTube. So there's a lot involved that's very shady about the way that these laws are being done to make different people money. Lottie said, chat missed me. Do you think that drawing from the plastic animal figures that are sold at toy stores is considered copyright violation? Well, no. If you're like, I've done that before. I have a little clownfish and I'll use him for the positioning of him, but I paint him different. Like I'm not copying. And I do, now I'm not a lawyer, so, you know, I always would recommend talk to a lawyer instead. But even then, I don't think you fall super under copyright because it's transformative. You're not making a plastic toy fish copying the plastic toy. Like you're not making a duplicate of that. You're using that as reference for a painting. You're turning it into something completely different. My understanding, which again, not a lawyer, do not take this as legal advice. I would talk to an actual copyright lawyer to double check. But my understanding is that would count as being transformative. But again, I paint mine in a manner that it wouldn't even be recognized as those little plastic toy figures. You know, you can't tell which fish that came from. I'll position him and play with the lighting, but when it comes down to actually painting him, I use a real fish as my reference for getting the texture, the coloring, all of that. So that's how I view it, but like I said, not a lawyer, so I don't know how helpful I am there. Nick said, Kimberly Williams asks, I'm working on a black dog with a lot of white fur. I'm having a hard time getting the white fur to show up. Any suggestions with colored pencils? So you've got two options that I would go with there. My first would be if I were painting that, if I'm going to, well, now I would just use touch-up texture titanium white mixture and paint my white on top. With that, and that is the only way. Don't think that you can use acrylic paint or oil paint or gel pens or whatever else. I mean, technically you can, probably isn't going to stick that well, but even if it does, it's not archival, so I do not recommend that. The only product I recommend for painting on top of colored pencils was intended for colored pencils. That's from brushandpencil.com. It's where you can combine this texture fixative, so it's in a little nail polish type bottle. Pour a little of that into the titanium white powder. You make this mixture, and I just use a liner brush and I paint that on wherever I would want those white furs. The other option, if I'm not going to use that, would be to put the white furs in first and add the black around it. Put those lighter colors in first. Getting the white to show up, like taking a white pencil on top of a black pencil, it's not going to show up that much. You're just going to make some medium gray. So those would be the ways that I would attack it. Either put the white first, black around it, or go ahead and do the black like you've got. Get that touch-up texture titanium white mixture. I've got videos showing you how to do it. Mix that together and paint that where you want the white fur. And that is honestly the easiest way. Shelly said, I'm learning not to be oh my god, I'm learning not to be an overblender. See, it doesn't take much. You know, it's like just a couple of brush strokes. Sometimes I don't blend at all. And that was the biggest thing for me not to, like, God, I used to overblend so bad for years when I started painting. That was such a big thing for me to learn. Let's see. Any tips on fighting fibro and exhaustion so I can actually get some art done? Yes, your diet. You got to change your diet. I know that is not what anyone wants to hear. It's not what I want to hear. I would live off Fruity Pebbles if that was okay. Actually, I did for the last week, and that's why everything hurts now. And why my clothes no longer fit. But anyway, yeah, you got to control your diet is the best thing that you can do. Not a doctor. Do not take this as medical advice. But what works for pretty much everyone, cut sugar completely. That means stevia, all artificial or natural or any sugar alternative, you're cutting it all. None of it is going to work for you and your fibro. Actually, the artificial stuff like stevia will make me and I say it's artificial. Stevia is not technically artificial, but you know, any non-traditional, I guess, sweetener, aspartame, all of that will affect me worse than normal straight sugar. But cut sugar, cut most carbs. No potatoes, no corn, no flour of any sort. Well, I shouldn't say any sort because there are actually certain types of like cassava flour. There are flours that are low carb that I'm able to have. My husband will sometimes make like breaded chicken with that, and that doesn't affect me negatively. And it is a low carb thing, but cutting the carbs, most of those carbs are extremely inflammatory, which is like the opposite of what we need with fibro. Sugar, the same thing, extremely inflammatory. So you've got to change your diet, and nobody wants to hear that. Everybody does, well, I can't do that. Well, when it hurts bad enough, when you get to the point that I did, or that I'm at right now, you will be desperate enough to change your diet. But that is really what's going to make a huge, huge difference for you. You can still have fun stuff. And I think that's the thing that people have to realize. Like with me, my coffee, I'm drinking iced coffee right now. I put cream in it, or it's half and half, but no sweeteners. I can do this. This is fine. I can't, as soon as I start putting sugar in this, it's all downhill. So you can still, and you get to the point where you don't even realize that things, like it tastes sweet to me, because I'm used to not right now, because I lived off Fruity Pebbles all week, but you'll get to where things don't, like, you don't crave the sugar. It takes a bit. It may be a few weeks, it may be a few months to get over those sugar cravings, but you will feel anybody will feel better if they can cut those from their diet. So that is what I would recommend. It when it gets bad enough and you're desperate enough, trust me, you will try anything. And that's how I got to this point, that I was willing. But like I said, I binged. I reverted so bad over pretty much from right before, like the week before I moved. It was like, everything's packed, just eat junk food, whatever. I'm going to live off Fritos, or what was it? Chili cheese Fritos are my favorite. I'm going to live off those. And then I just kept reverting more and more to junk food, and I hadn't gotten back to it. Now, as of today, like completely back to healthy. Oh, the cravings are going to be bad. But I hurt so bad at this point that I am back to like, okay, I'm willing to make the change. I'm going completely back to eating super healthy. And yeah, it's, even nodding my head right now hurts. I'm like, ow, my neck, everything hurts. So yeah, that is what I recommend. And it's worth it, because when I feel better, and it's going to take me a couple weeks to get back to normal. So, and that's hard. It's hard to give up those foods. When for those first, within a week, you'll notice a difference, but by week 2, you'll feel so much better. But when at first you're not noticing a big difference in how you feel, it's hard to like, oh, I just want a bowl of cereal. But if you can stick through it, you won't believe how much different you'll feel. Okay. Ursi says, good color combinations. Thank you. All I'm doing tonight is pretty much black and white. Jeez, I'm keeping it simple. Ursi's also said, try lemon slices and lime slices in your water for a sweet taste. Yes, that good tip. We drink that, and I keep forgetting to get lemons every time we go to the store lately. My husband and I both love lemon in the water. I haven't done lime in a really long time. I'll have to do that. But yeah, there are like so many alternatives that you'll get to where, like tea, herbal tea. I drink a lot of herbal tea. There's a blueberry one that I really like, that I can have all of that I want without feeling ill. Like, because I do have to limit the caffeine. I can have 2 cups of caffeine safely a day before I'll start feeling sick from it. It's not the fibro sick. My adrenaline is overactive all the time. So adding caffeine to that is not ideal. So I can do 2 cups, but when I switch over to, you find alternatives. When you don't, with all of these foods, there are things that you can eat that you will still enjoy. You just have to figure out what those are. And I think so many of us, we don't grow up. I mean, I didn't grow up knowing what those alternatives were. We ate fairly healthy, but not like I do, like I do starting today now, or start before the move. You will find tons of alternatives. Like there's a spaghetti, I forget which one it is. I like it better than real pasta. I'm not a huge pasta person other than macaroni and cheese, but I like it better than real pasta. And so I can have spaghetti. There are lower carb alternatives that taste just as good. You've got spaghetti squash. You've got a lot of things. Zucchini makes for a good noodle. So you just have to learn what the alternatives are to things. You still get to eat fun things, but you will feel so much better. Down on the farm studio said, can you have chocolate that has no added sugar, just cocoa? And yes, I can do like the dark chocolate. I try to stay 80% or higher. If it's less than 80, it's like 82%, I think is the lowest one I go. Normally I go 90% is the one that I've been buying lately. But yeah, I will do that and dip it in peanut butter. Oh my God, that is good. That's like one of my snacks. That one's really good. But it's a dark chocolate. You're not getting, you can't do milk chocolate. And it's funny, for so many different health problems that people have, what a difference changing your diet can make. Both emotionally too, like people who suffer from borderline personality bipolar, just depression in general. A lot of these things can be impacted by your diet. Now, I'm not saying to stop taking any medication your doctor has you on. Don't do that. I'm not a doctor. But a lot of people have been known to really respond well by cutting, gluten, casein, and sugar. Made a big difference for people. Diet plays such a role in our health and in how we feel, both our body and our mind. Like, it's a big difference. This is what you wanted to listen to on an art video, right? Listen to Lisa ramble about health things. Ursi said, have you tried raspberry tea? Which kind? Let me know the brand. Usually I get Stash Tea is the one that I've been buying. I tried a few other brands that I was not a huge fan of. And then there's a place down in Grapevine that sells like loose tea. They have some really, really good ones. So right now, what I'm using is straight white. It's too white. That's okay. When it dries, I'm going to glaze a little bit of color over to tint it where I want it to be. But it's easier sometimes, I find, just to paint the white first. Like, and you'll see this on the video that goes up tomorrow of the macaw, where I painted the feathers white and then I glazed the blues and purples over that. It's so much easier than trying to mix the color you want for every brush stroke. Am I boring you? That was a pretty big sigh over there. Greyhounds, if you're unaware, probably one of the laziest dogs. They call them 45-mile couch potatoes. That is an accurate description. He sleeps a lot. Let's see. Chaz said, with Fibro, try reading Anthony Ah. You know, I don't read most of the books or look into that. I'm not saying no one else should, because I found the solution for me. The only thing that it didn't give me, like, I still am tired a lot. Like, I can always go to sleep, or always want to go to sleep. I don't actually sleep well. That's a whole other problem. But I don't really bother reading a lot of the different books and a bunch of the different theories now, because I know the solution for me is my diet. If I control my diet, all the fibro pain, 100% gone. The nausea, the dizziness, all of it just goes away completely if I control my diet. And I mean, it's a healthy, natural diet anyway, so. Yeah, I used to read all kinds of things trying to find a solution. And what I wanted, and I think a lot of us want, was a solution that was like, take this pill and you can still eat all the crap in the world you want. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It is better just to change your diet into a much healthier way of eating. But I think most of us are quite lazy. We don't want to do that work because it is hard work to eat healthy and to research. And I mean, my favorite food are leftovers. What kind of leftovers? Don't care. Leftovers. That is my favorite because I am very lazy. Thanks, Wayne. So I'm just kind of dotting, just little details. This is the type of detail that I've really missed doing lately because it is time consuming. I mean, it isn't 2 hours time consuming. It's because I keep stopping to talk. But it really makes a difference adding some of this in here. And then, of course, I'll glaze. Right now, everything's way too like flat and white. I'll glaze blues and purples over some of this. And there goes my air compressor. I need to remember to turn that thing off. These little dots, little teeny brush strokes. Now, I like to have my reference photo. I keep mine on a monitor that's on a shelf next to my easel here. I like doing that because I can zoom in and out and see a lot more detail. Joey, how do I cope with the fatigue from Fibro? That is just... That's a whole other thing that I would love to find a better solution for. I see a natural doctor, and he recently has me taking a product called Cardio Plus. There's a gluten-free one that they finally make now, so I'm able to take that. And that has been making a huge difference when I remember to take it. I've been everything I've been bad about lately. So I've started taking that again. That really makes me feel better. I still don't feel like a normal person, but I've had it like 5 times or 3 times, less than 5, I'm sure, in my life where I woke up and felt good and awake. So I know what a real person's supposed to feel like. I've had just enough to where I know, wow, I don't feel normal. But yeah, that's how I know I'm not This isn't how you're supposed to feel when you wake up. I wake up more tired than when I went to bed. Like, I don't like going to bed at night because I wake up feeling horrible, way worse, way more tired than when I went to bed, no matter how many hours of sleep I get or how good of sleep it seemed to be. But if I take the Cardio Plus, that definitely helps. Like I said, not normal, but it does help. And I mean, I'm going to be tired whether I'm sitting around watching TV or if I'm painting. So I make myself work because I have a lot of stuff I want to accomplish. And sitting around all day was not working with my overall plan. I used to sit around all day and I accomplished nothing. And I realized I'm tired whether I'm sitting here or if I'm sitting at the easel. So let's go sit at the easel. Natasha said, I know all about the lazy greyhounds. I had a rescue a few years ago. She was an amazing dog. Such a shame so many of these have such a bad start. Okay, so here's the thing, and I'm going to talk about this more in a video about him. They don't have as bad of a start as people want to think, and not the rescues themselves, but there are people who are like, oh, they were raced and it was a horrible life. No, it wasn't. The reason these dogs are so good, like he is the most stable dog I have ever owned because he had such a good life to start with. He was a race dog. He's a retired racer. Now, were all of them that good? No. You definitely can have some people who are racing the dogs who do not do it well or do not treat the dogs like they should be. But the thing is, a dog who's not happy is not going to run well. It doesn't make sense not to treat that dog as good as possible. He needs to be healthy. He needs to be well bred. He needs to be, well socialized around other dogs so he's not freaking out about the fact that he's going to be running with other dogs. Greyhounds love to race. Sighthounds in general. I've had sighthounds for years. I've got Italian greyhounds. They love to run. They love to race. That is like the highlight of their life. To me, the challenge of owning a dog like this is making sure his life is as fulfilled as it was before he came to live with me. That dog was perfectly happy. You don't get a dog this happy, this stable, that had a bad life to start with. Does that mean that all racers have great lives? No, he clearly did. They're not treated bad. Some are. What happened is you've got a lot of these videos out there. HSUS, PETA, they all like to put out these videos telling people how sad and how mistreated every dog is. And they show the sad face of the puppies and the sad music. It's bull. It is nothing but bullshit. It's not true. Yes, you may have a bad owner. You can have a bad owner. I may have a neighbor 3 houses down that could be a bad owner. I don't know. That doesn't mean that all racing greyhounds have bad owners. They love their life to start with. And if you take a racing greyhound like him, if I took him to the track, and you can see videos of this where people take their dogs back to the tracks where they used to race at, the dogs are so excited because they want to go race. They want to go run. They love that life. They love chasing things. That's what they're bred for. Their mind wants them to race. So anyway, the reason I'm going off on that tangent, and I'm going to talk about this more when I make more videos about him, I am not anti-racing. I actually am sad that they're not racing, that they're starting to close down a lot of these places because it's going to make it harder for me to get greyhounds as pets. Now we're going to have to go through show breeders to get them. As this continues, as they close down more and more of these things, but racing greyhounds, most of them, I'm not going to say all because you can't say all about any dog. Most of them have a very good life, a very fulfilling life before they go into the rescues that then find them homes. This idea that you're seeing propagated by, Gray 2K is one of the worst. They're just liars. They spread so much bull that it is just not true. The way that they're telling you how these dogs are treated and mistreated and all that, you may have a bad actor here and there that has these dogs who race them. They're a bad kennel. Very rare. That is not the norm. And we all want to get rid of those, but it is not the norm. And that's what Gray 2K and a lot of these are not telling people. These dogs had wonderful lives. Now, he's getting used to stuff. He's never lived in a house before, but that doesn't mean his life was bad by any sense of the imagination. He's bored sometimes. He wants to go run. He wants to go race. So I've got to get off my butt and take him on more walks. But be careful. A lot of the propaganda out there that tells you, oh, their lives are so bad. And I'm not saying that you're one of those people, but they tell you that. They tell you that it's lies. They spread absolute lies because of these animal rights activists. Now, I want all animals treated well. I love animals. You guys know that. But the animal rights activists like HSUS, they are liars. They are nothing but a lobbyist group. They don't save animals at all. Like less than 1%, I think, something like that. Less than 1% of what they collect from people, all these sad videos on TV, actually go to helping animals or going to shelters. All it goes to lobbying and changing laws. So their end goal, and it said this on their website at one point, their end goal is that no one have animals as pets. Seriously, I'm not making that up. So, yeah, I am not a fan of that, and I am not anti-racing for greyhounds. I mean, like I said, this is one of the most stable. His temperament is one of the best I've ever seen, and it's because he had such a good life. When he sees something that scares him, because he's never lived in a house before, like the ice machine on the fridge, that scared him. He backed up. He's like, what the heck? Now, if my Italian greyhounds saw that, they would have PTSD for life. Not even kidding you. They'd be traumatized, and they wouldn't get over it if something scares them that much. He backed up and was scared, and then he's like, okay, but now I need to investigate. And now he's not afraid of it anymore. He's very stable temperament. So yeah, anyway, that was a tangent. And you can tell this is something that I'm very passionate about because it drives me crazy. The propaganda that is told to people that these dogs had a bad life. They didn't. Some did. Absolutely some did. Most didn't. Anyway, sorry. Let's see. Daniel said, OMG, I dropped sugar, soda, junk foods like the Doritos. Started walking with my injury. I feel 1,000 times better, or 1,000% better. I found my creativity boost as well. I think 5 to 10 photography is awesome now. All right, I hike. God, I can't read. I hike 5 to 10 photography. That is really cool. That is awesome. And it's a story you hear so often when people change their diet from the junk food that we all would rather eat. Shao says it's drastically changing diet from fresh fruit, veggies to no dairy, eggs, and minimal grass-fed lean meats, but no pork. Celery juice, lemon, and lime and water has massive results. Oh yeah, that's all like great stuff. Absolutely. Favorite source for reference photos. I either like to take my own or Pixabay or my favorite is probably wildlifereferencephotos.com. That is great. For free stuff, Pixabay. For paid stuff, Wildlife Reference Photos. Or of course my own whenever possible. Ursies recommends Celestial Seasonings. I will have to look into that for the raspberry. I will check that. Natasha said, my dog was from a large-scale rescue from Ireland. See, now Ireland may be different than the U.S. I don't know what your laws are there, so I cannot speak to how your dogs are treated over there. I have no idea. Drugged and beaten. She came to us still shaking. She still loved to run, though. Yeah, see, the ones that drugged, it's not, I don't know if it's legal there, but here it is completely illegal for those, because some will try to give steroids and different things and drug the dogs to, like, performance enhancement things, but they started doing tests to verify that the dogs were not being given those things, because one, it's cheating, two, it's not unhealthy for the dogs. You've got two reasons. So it's not legal. Do people still do it? Yeah, and they get kicked out and removed. Like it is not acceptable. It is not legal for them to do that here. But yeah, I don't know how Ireland handles their racing. Here, and again, you'll occasionally get bad actors. You will have people who treat their dogs badly. But you can have pet owners who treat their dogs badly. That's going to happen in any field, anything. But it's not the norm. So yeah, with Ireland, I definitely don't know for you guys. And the funny thing is, a dog who's beaten isn't gonna run. Drugged, yes. Beaten, no. So it just doesn't make sense. I mean, these kennel operators know that, at least here. So yeah, they're not gonna run well, I should say. Nick said, any dog doing what they were bred for is a happy dog. Absolutely. That is definitely true. Joe said, I came in a moment. I know, I go off on these tangents. The animal rights thing really gets me because the animal rights people, they're in goal. I showed my Italian Greyhounds. Many of you know that. So I've been heavily involved in what's gone on in the laws they've tried to change and the way they've done it, like mandatory spay and neuter. I'm all for spay. My dogs are all spayed and neutered. I'm all for spay and neuter. However, if we spay and neuter all the dogs, including legacy breeders who are breeding for health, they're doing health testing. I don't mean taking the dog to the vet and getting an exam. I mean actual like hip tests, eye tests, like actual testing, knowing the lines, knowing the pedigree. We're going to lose having these dogs. There will be no Italian Greyhounds except those bred by puppy mills if we get rid of, if everyone has to spay or neuter. And that's one of the things that we see so often with a lot of these animal rights activists. They're going after the good breeders, the breeders who are doing it right. A good breeder, for example, will always take their puppy back. A good breeder's dogs will never end up in a shelter, ever. That does not happen. And if they do, like a good breeder, I knew Jessie, her breeder, when she was alive, if she found out one of her dogs, the person didn't want it, she would drive across the country or fly across the country out of her own pocket to get that dog back, and she would find it another home. That is what a good breeder is. That isn't what you see from like backyard breeders, puppy millers. They don't do that. But a good breeder absolutely does. So there's nothing wrong with somebody being a good breeder, but the animal rights activists are going after those breeders. not just puppy millers. I'm all with you. I want all the puppy millers gone. I want anybody who is not breeding for the right reasons, who is breeding to make money, whatever. That is their sole purpose. That I have an issue with. But yeah, a good breeder doesn't, and the animal rights activist is making it so that there aren't many people willing to breed anymore, because it's a nonstop legal battle at this point with a lot of them, with city council saying every dog needs to be near. I mean, it's a legal nightmare. The lobbyists and HSUS is one of the biggest. Do not ever donate to HSUS. Donate to your local shelter. Donate to your local breed rescues, if you prefer to do that, like the Greyhound Rescue where he came from. They could always use more money. But the animal rights activists are HSUS. They're taking, and they call themselves Humane Society of the United States. They're a humane society. They don't run any shelters. They take your money and use it to pass laws that are going to try to prevent us from having animals as pets. And there's more to it than that, but that's, the sum of what's happening. Donate. If you want to donate money, ignore these commercials with the Sarah McLachlan or whatever her name is, the sad, sad in the eyes of the angel song. That's all bull. Those dogs, and actually it's one of the things I'm going to do on my dogs. I want to take a video and show you the difference of, here's sad music of my dog sleeping in a crate, and then put happy music of the same exact video. They frame it in a way that is a lie, and they take that money and it doesn't go to helping the animals in the shelters. Donate to your local shelters. That's who needs your money and who will actually help animals. Okay, that was one hell of a rant. Sarah said, I've heard some animal rights activists don't want blind people using guide dogs or other people with disabilities to use service dogs. Absolutely. They do not. They don't want animals living with people. They don't want it. They want them all free in the wild, and that is all. It's frustrating. I remember growing up, because I like I said, I love animals. I want animals protected. Like when you hear somebody beating an animal or something like that, like I want those people in trouble. I want that to, putting the brushes down because that's about it for tonight. But I want those people in trouble. I don't want that, we want to put a stop to that. But the problem is the animal rights activists aren't helping those dogs. They're going after everybody who owns it. They don't want people owning animals. So it's all kinds of frustrating for me. This is one of those things I'm extremely, extremely passionate about, as almost as much as art. I love my animals. I don't want animal rights activists getting involved to where you can't have animals. Like, that's insane to me, and that is their goal. And step by step, they move a little bit further, because they have everyone convinced that they're just there to save the animals, and that's not what they're trying to do. But you're right, Sarah. Shaz said, animal rights groups are such extremists that they're destroying so much. Can't imagine our life without animals. Some people will mistreat animals or children. Breeders love their animals. Exactly. Good breeders. Yes, they're absolutely bad, but that's not the majority. I don't think that that's the norm. At least I'd like to believe that's not the norm, that most people aren't abusing their animals. But yeah, you are right. Yeah, laughing in my rants. Let's see. Chrissy said, my local humane society doesn't work. I reported many poorly kept budgie seller at a market, all ignored. I took a picture, all ignored. And that's unfortunate. And birds, I think, are a bit harder to get them involved with that sort of thing. Usually they don't mess with birds as much as they do. Dogs are the bigger ones. Your local humane society would likely go and investigate if somebody is mistreating them. But even that, it does depend on the city you're in. You are you are not wrong there. Gracie said, thanks for a great, wonderful night live stream show tonight. Well, thanks for joining me. Trisha said, have you ever had your nighttime oxygen tested? My oxygen levels drop when sleeping, not sleep apnea. I found that my morning pain is much better when I use oxygen at night. It's funny you mentioned that, because the Cardio Plus that I take, that does make me feel better. It gets your oxygen. That's one of the things that works for getting oxygen. Your oxygen, the blood level. I can't speak. Very tired. I feel better with that. So that makes sense. I should look into that though, because that would totally make sense. Down on the Farm Studio said, they do that to farmers with cows and other animals. Apparently they never visited a good farm or cared to. I love my cows, and we're all well taken care of. Yeah, the animal rights activists are way going after farmers, like bad. Like, we all want the animals taken care of, but most farmers, they also want their animals well taken care of. Like, most farmers, if you go to a good farm, it is not the same. And I think one of the things that happens, like, I'm from Southern California. If you went to the dairy farms down there, it smells horrible, and I do not think those animals are taken well care of. I really don't. but it's not the same as a normal farmer. Like, it's very different, and they like to only show you the worst of the worst. Yeah, let's fix the bad, but don't hurt the good in the process. And that's, they tend to hurt the good, and the bad continues, which is so frustrating. Shelly Parker said, I've really grown to enjoy these live chats. Thank you. Well, thanks for joining me and listening to me rant. You too, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie. I can't say that the writing is too little and those letters are squishing together. Vlogs. Okay. Nick said, my favorite peta flyer. A picture of a guy holding a salmon that he had just caught with his kids standing next to him. The heading, if your father will kill a fish, he'll kill your dog. Oh, God. Yeah, they're insane. The stuff that PETA and HSUS, they're disgusting. They're the lies and that's what's so funny. Like, let's go back to greyhound racing. Showcase the bad, that's fine, but don't lie. Don't exaggerate and make the good look like the bad when it's not. And that's what they do. They take things that are, they frame it and lie just to try to get their way. Convince me of your stance on things by telling the truth. But as soon as you start lying to me, I am out. And that's what they do. It's just absolute lies. Grade 2K is one of the worst. They lie really bad about greyhound racing, and they have lobbied for quite some time to get all greyhound racing shut down. You have a lot of people who do lure horsing and different things where they race their dogs just for fun, no money involved. The dogs love it. That is like the highlight. And like I was saying with people, where people take their greyhounds back to the track, those dogs lose they lose it. They get so excited, jumping and whining, and they want to get into that track. They think it's fun. They love that life. And so, like I said, with him, I feel like the challenge is to make sure he's not just bored, that he's happy, that he's like his life is enriched. I don't want his life to turn into, you're retired and now you just sleep on the couch all day. That's not what I want for him. I want him to have a good, active, like happy life like what he had. And so, yeah, that's my thing. Let's see. Arts with Ryan said, is your beta a Quay beta? No, he is not. He is a marble. So he changed color because he's a marble. But he's a marble. He's a half moon marble. So no, and the koi betas, that's actually what I want for my next beta. I was tempted to get one later this year. We're just chatting now. This has nothing to do with art. If you're here for the art is over. I'm just going to chat for a few more minutes before we wrap up. But a half moon plakat is what I want, I think, for my next one, because they have the shorter tail. So mine being a half moon, he has a really long tail and he nips his own tail. Their tail gets heavy and sometimes they'll just nip it to shorten it so it's easier for them to swim. I don't even want to have him have to deal with that anymore. So my next one, I think I'm going to do the half moon plakat. So it's got a shorter tail, but the koi, I love the galaxy koi. Those are really pretty too, but mostly oranges and reds are what I really want for my next beta. He will come from Ben's Beta. He's located in Colorado, and he actually, if you look up, is it Ben Beta Aquatics, I think, on Facebook. If you are looking for a good beta, he ships and his fish are wonderful. That's where my beta came from. And he will ship to you. Don't ship in the winter. It's not a good idea. Wait till spring so that they don't freeze. Even though they put heat packs, I would still recommend waiting. Winter is not a good time of year to ship a fish, but you can get those like really nice fish shipped to you. He imports them from Thailand. He imports them from somewhere. So beautiful, beautiful fish. Okay, let's see. Oh, Trisha said, can you say the brand name or link to the cardio stuff? Would like to look into it. It's by Standard Processes is who makes it, and it's called Cardio Plus. I'm taking the gluten-free one, so mine says Cardio Plus GF because I have celiac disease, so mine has to be gluten-free. But they make the normal Cardio Plus as well. But my God, that stuff he has me taking 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. Although I think I may up that. You can't overdose. It's whole foods. It's vitamins, essentially. You're not going to overdose, but I think I'm going to up it again at night. I'm going to try taking it at night because that makes sense why I feel even worse when I wake up. And I've taken it before I went to sleep, and I know that it doesn't give you energy, like it's not caffeine or anything like that, but I'm going to try that stuff before I go to bed and see what happens. Zale said, thank you for educating us about the issues with animals because I didn't know about this and the dishonesty of these organizations. Yeah, and just to be clear, I am all for donating to actual rescues. I am all for rescues. I am all for all of, yay, save the animals. But these places, HSUS, they lie. Gray 2K, they lie. They convince you that only the bad is occurring. Does the bad happen? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is it the norm? Absolutely not. That is, I mean, I can tell as he rolls around. Are you comfy back there? He's not afraid. Like, I'm using the Swiffer dusting. And so the first time seeing it, he kind of backs up like, what the hell is that? And then he comes up and examines it, and he's fine. Like the broom. He's very stable. This is not a dog who has ever been mistreated. A lot of people feel like if the dog is not living in a house, on your couch, in your bed, it's mistreated. And that's just not the case. He was a working dog. He loved his job. He had to have been well treated to be this stable. Now, that doesn't mean that if you have a dog that comes out of rescue and they're skittish or whatever, that they were mistreated. A lot of people mistake that too. Sometimes it's just some dogs like Jessie. My first Italian Greyhound, my older girl, she is a spaz. Like, Crackhead is her nickname. She actually answers to Crackhead. But she just, everything. Like, windshield wipers. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Does that mean she was ever beaten by windshield wipers? No. The dog, I've had her since she was 8 weeks old. Like, I've known her since the day she was born. No. But, you do have some dogs that are just not mentally stable anyway. That doesn't necessarily mean they were beaten or mistreated. This dog never was. But we also have a tendency to want to, so, don't think that just because they're skittish or whatever, that is an automatic they were beaten. That is not the case. My in-laws do that a lot. Every dog, if they're skittish or like their last dog was afraid of fly swatters, so they were determined she must have been beaten by fly swatters at some point. No, dogs are just weird, and sometimes they have random phobias. It's just a thing. But anyway, I just want to clear that up. That I don't want to make it sound like if a dog is unstable, that's a guaranteed it was mistreated. That's not the case either. Sometimes they're just like Jessie, who I call Crackhead. I've known that dog since the day when she was born. I guarantee you she's never mistreated. She's just a spaz. Let's see. Arts with Ryan said, there is a koi beta named Benny on the internet, and he's so beautiful. I think... Oh, you got an itch? I think he is in this video where he was trying to jump out of the water. Really cool stuff. I've seen where betas were trying to jump like in through hoops and stuff. Really cool. You are correct. Yeah, Nick said, yeah, he looks abused. Were you abused? You want to come say goodbye before we finish? Come here. He doesn't totally know to come, like he doesn't understand the come when called. Plus he's a sight hound, and sight hounds have what they call selective hearing, where they're like, I know what you want, but I also know I don't have to do that thing right now. We've been working with him. He's just over the last couple of days starting to understand what lay down means. So he's doing good with that. Stay and come. Those are our next commands. And obviously he doesn't, come here. Come here. Come on. Are you going to get up? I know it's so hard. Come on. Come say goodbye to everybody. Good boy. Oh, gotta stretch first. He also, at almost every time he stretches, he farts. It's lovely. Yeah, Paul. Yes. Yeah. So, that could be a thing that happens right now. I swear it's the dog. It's not me. Come here. Oh, you're stretching again. Come here. Oh, you were sleeping, huh? You gotta get up. Here, let's tilt it down so everybody can see you to say goodnight. Because I'm that crazy dog person. There he is. Say goodnight. He's like, I'll just go to sleep in your lap. It's also very hard to edit videos because he wants to rest his head on my elbow when I'm like typing and working there. The sweetest boy, huh? Yes, as you can tell, terribly mistreated animal. Yeah, him's a good boy. Okay, you say goodnight? Yeah, that's as good as we're gonna get, huh? Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining. Rose Quartz Riptail says, I love my Greyhound. Such an amazing breed. Absolutely. I am so with you on that. Oh, Starving Irish Collective says, great, your live stream as usual. Thank you. P.S. My fur babies are all rescues. Always get pets from the shelters. Most are, I'm not reading, that's going too fast. Most are good. Some need TLC, but have adored all of them. Yeah, my in-laws, all their dogs come from shelters. I'm pretty sure for me, from moving on, like Greyhounds are definitely... I still want an Iberian hound, but Greyhounds are definitely right now, like, I don't know why I would want a different dog. He's seriously the easiest dog I've ever lived with. He's so good. Daniel said, I had African cichlids with an Oscar, and I trained them to jump out of the tank after a worm. I dangled above. That is, wow, I've never seen that with cichlids. That is cool. Anyway, thanks again for joining. Oh, because I'm a jerk. And I always forget to mention this. I can't talk tonight. Make sure to check out our moderators' channels. They are linked in the video description, both Joseph and Nick. Hey, I said your Nick. You notice I didn't stall this time, Nick? Have channels here on YouTube. They help us so much. Tell them thank you. Subscribe to their channels. They do so much for me. And we will be here. I don't know what we're working on next week. It'll be something. Have a happy new year. Hope everything is starting off good for you guys. Bye.